A powerful secret is on the verge of unraveling, one that could shatter lives and expose hidden truths. Michael Johnson, the brilliant and calculating CEO, thought he had control over every aspect of his world, until the day a young nurse whispered a warning that would change everything. Her words were the spark that ignited a series of events, revealing a corporate conspiracy intertwined with long-buried family secrets. Now, faced with betrayal from within and the shocking realization of who this mysterious nurse truly is, Michael finds himself at a crossroads where his past and present collide. As he races against time to protect his empire and uncover the full extent of the deception, one thing becomes clear: nothing is as it seems, and the stakes are higher than ever. The truth he seeks could destroy everything he's built, or it could redefine the meaning of family. What happens next will leave you breathless. The rhythmic beeping of medical equipment filled the air as Michael Johnson's eyes fluttered open. The stark white ceiling of the hospital room came into focus, a harsh reminder of where he was and why. At 57, the billionaire CEO of Tech Vision Enterprises never expected to find himself here, recovering from a heart attack that had nearly claimed his life. As awareness crept back into his body, Michael became acutely aware of the dull ache in his chest. He shifted slightly, the crisp hospital sheets rustling beneath him. The movement caught the attention of a young nurse who had been quietly checking his vitals. "Mr. Johnson, you're awake," she said, her voice soft but clear. "How are you feeling?" Michael blinked, focusing on the nurse. She was petite with warm brown eyes that seemed oddly familiar. Her name tag read, Emily. "Like I've been hit by a truck," Michael grumbled, his voice hoarse from disuse. "How long have I been out?" Emily checked her chart. 3 days, Mr. Johnson. You gave everyone quite a scare." Michael's eyes widened. 3 days? I need to get out of here. There's an important board meeting I can't miss." As he tried to sit up, a sharp pain shot through his chest, causing him to wince. Emily quickly moved to his side, gently but firmly easing him back onto the pillows. "Mr. Johnson, please, you need to rest. Your body has been through a tremendous ordeal," she urged, her eyes filled with genuine concern. Michael felt a strange connection to this nurse, something he couldn't quite explain. He found himself relaxing under her care, despite the urgency he felt about his business affairs. "The meeting," he insisted, though with less force. "It's crucial for the future of my company." Emily bit her lip, seeming to wrestle with something internally. Finally, she leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Mr. Johnson, I don't think you should go to that meeting." Michael's brow furrowed. "What? Why would you say that?" The nurse glanced nervously at the door before turning back to him. "I can't explain right now, but please trust me. It's not safe for you to attend that meeting." Before Michael could press her further, the door swung open and Dr. Patel strode in, clipboard in hand. Emily straightened up, her face immediately neutral and professional. "Ah, Mr. Johnson, good to see you awake," Dr. Patel said, his voice warm and reassuring. "How are you feeling?" As the doctor began his examination, Michael's mind raced. What did Emily mean? Why would it be unsafe for him to attend his own board meeting? The questions nagged at him, but he forced himself to focus on Dr. Patel's words. "Your vitals are looking much better, Mr. Johnson," the doctor was saying. "The medication has helped stabilize your condition. However, you'll need to make some significant lifestyle changes to prevent another episode." Michael nodded absently, his eyes drifting to Emily, who was busying herself with adjusting his IV. She pointedly avoided his gaze. "When can I leave?" Michael asked, turning back to Dr. Patel. The doctor hesitated. Ideally, we'd like to keep you for another day or two for observation." "I can't stay that long," Michael interrupted. "I have pressing business matters to attend to." Dr. Patel sighed, clearly used to dealing with stubborn patients. "Mr. Johnson, I strongly advise against rushing your recovery. Your health should be your top priority right now." Michael set his jaw, a determined look in his eyes that both Dr. Patel and Emily recognized all too well. It was the look of a man accustomed to getting his way. "I appreciate your concern, doctor, but I assure you I'm feeling much better. I'll follow whatever outpatient regimen you prescribe, but I need to be discharged today." Dr. Patel exchanged a worried glance with Emily before turning back to Michael. "Very well, Mr. Johnson. If you insist, we can begin the discharge process, but I must stress the importance of taking it easy. No strenuous activity, limit your stress, and follow up with your personal physician in a few days." As Dr. Patel left to start the paperwork, Emily approached Michael's bedside once more. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of concern and something else. "Fear. Mr. Johnson, please reconsider," she pleaded in a low voice. "I know it's not my place, but I have a bad feeling about this meeting. Something isn't right." Michael studied her face, trying to understand the intensity of her worry. "Emily, I appreciate your concern, but you don't understand. This meeting could determine the future of my company. I've worked too hard for too long to let a little health scare derail everything." Emily opened her mouth as if to argue further, but seemed to think better of it. Instead, she nodded resignedly and began helping Michael prepare for discharge. As Michael changed out of his hospital gown and back into his designer suit, he couldn't shake the unsettling feeling Emily's warning had stirred in him. He'd built his empire on trusting his instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming that something was amiss. Still, he pushed the thoughts aside. He had a company to run, and he couldn't let vague warnings from a well-meaning but uninformed nurse deter him from his responsibilities. As Emily helped him into a wheelchair, hospital policy for all discharged patients, Michael caught her gaze one last time. "Thank you for your care, Emily. I won't forget your kindness." Emily's eyes softened, and for a moment, Michael thought he saw them glisten with unshed tears. "Please be careful, Mr. Johnson, and if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to call the hospital and ask for me." Michael nodded, touched by her genuine concern. As he was wheeled out of the hospital, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the last time he saw Emily. Little did he know just how prophetic that feeling would prove to be. Outside, the hustle and bustle of New York City assaulted his senses. Car horns blared, people rushed by on the sidewalk, and the autumn air carried a crisp chill that made Michael pull his jacket tighter around himself. His chauffeur, Thomas, was waiting with the car. "Good to see you up and about, sir," Thomas said, helping Michael into the back seat of the sleek black sedan. "Thank you, Thomas," Michael replied, settling into the plush leather seat. "Take me to the office, please. We have a lot of work to do." As the car pulled away from the curb, Michael's mind raced with thoughts of the upcoming board meeting. He had no idea of the storm that was about to engulf his life, threatening everything he had built and revealing secrets long buried. The New York skyline loomed before him, a concrete jungle full of promise and peril. Michael Johnson, titan of industry, was about to embark on the most challenging journey of his life, one that would test not just his business acumen, but the very foundations of who he was as a person. Little did he know, the young nurse named Emily held the key to unraveling a mystery that would shake his world to its core. As the car weaved through the busy streets, Michael steeled himself for the battles ahead, unaware that the greatest challenge he would face wasn't in the boardroom, but in confronting the long-buried truths of his own past. The stage was set, the players in position. The drama that was about to unfold would change lives, reveal long-held secrets, and ultimately redefine the meaning of family for Michael Johnson. The countdown to the fateful board meeting had begun, and with it, the first domino in a long line of earth-shattering revelations was about to fall. The sleek black sedan glided through the bustling streets of New York City, its tinted windows shielding Michael Johnson from the curious gazes of passers-by. Inside, the billionaire CEO leaned back against the plush leather seat, his eyes closed as he tried to gather his strength for the challenges that lay ahead. Thomas, his trusted chauffeur of 15 years, glanced at his boss through the rearview mirror. "Sir, are you sure you're up for this? Perhaps a day of rest at home would be wise." Michael's eyes snapped open, a familiar determination blazing in their depths. "I appreciate your concern, Thomas, but there's no time for rest. Tech Vision needs me." As the car weaved through traffic, Michael's mind raced. The young nurse's warning echoed in his thoughts, an unsettling undercurrent to the anticipation he felt about returning to work. What could Emily have meant? Why would it be unsafe for him to attend his own board meeting? The sedan pulled up to the imposing glass and steel structure that housed Tech Vision Enterprises' headquarters. Michael took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. As he reached for the door handle, a wave of dizziness washed over him, a stark reminder of his recent brush with mortality. "Sir?" Thomas's voice was laced with concern. Michael waved him off. "I'm fine, Thomas. Just a momentary spell." He straightened his tie and stepped out of the car, projecting an air of confidence he didn't entirely feel. As he strode through the lobby, employees stopped and stared, their faces a mix of surprise and relief. Whispers followed in his wake. "Is that Mr. Johnson? I thought he was in the hospital. He looks pale. Should he be here?" Michael ignored the murmurs, focusing on the task at hand. He nodded curtly to the security guard and stepped into the private elevator that would take him to the executive floor. As the elevator ascended, Michael closed his eyes again, centering himself. He visualized success, picturing the board meeting going smoothly, seeing himself strong and in control. It was a technique he'd used countless times before, a form of self-programming that had served him well throughout his career. The elevator doors slid open, revealing the plush carpeting and modern art of the executive floor. His assistant, Sarah, nearly dropped her tablet when she saw him. "Mr. Johnson, we weren't expecting you back so soon," she exclaimed, rushing to his side. Michael managed a small smile. "It takes more than a little health scare to keep me down, Sarah. Is everything prepared for the board meeting?" Sarah nodded, falling into step beside him as they walked toward his office. "Yes, sir. All the reports are ready, and the board members have been notified of your return. But, sir, are you sure you're ready for this? We could easily postpone—" "No postponements," Michael cut her off firmly. "This meeting is too important. Now bring me up to speed on what I've missed." As Sarah began her report, Michael settled into his chair, the familiar leather creaking beneath him. He scanned the documents on his desk, his sharp mind quickly absorbing the information. Everything seemed to be in order, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. David Green, his longtime friend and chief operating officer, entered the room, his face breaking into a wide smile. "Michael, thank God you're all right," David exclaimed, crossing the room to clasp Michael's hand. "We've all been worried sick. Are you sure you're up for this meeting?" Michael met his friend's gaze, searching for any sign of the danger Emily had hinted at, but all he saw was genuine concern in David's eyes. "I'm fine, David. A little tired, perhaps, but nothing I can't handle," Michael assured him. "Now tell me, what's the real state of affairs here? I feel like I'm missing something." David's smile faltered for a split second, so brief that Michael almost missed it. "Everything's under control, Michael. We've managed to keep things running smoothly in your absence. There have been a few challenges, but nothing we couldn't handle." Michael leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Challenges? What kind of challenges?" Before David could respond, Sarah poked her head in. "Mr. Johnson, the board members are arriving. The meeting will start in 10 minutes. Michael nodded, rising from his chair. "We'll continue this discussion later, David. For now, let's face the board." As they walked toward the conference room, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into something bigger than he realized. The nurse's warning, David's momentary hesitation, small details that most would overlook, but that set off alarm bells in Michael's finely tuned business instincts. The conference room was a testament to corporate luxury, a long mahogany table surrounded by high-backed leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the New York skyline. As Michael entered, the board members rose, a chorus of surprised murmurs filling the air. Michael, we didn't expect to see you here today, said Eleanor Winters, the eldest board member and a long-time ally. Are you sure you're up for this? Michael flashed his most convincing smile. I assure you, Eleanor, I'm more than capable of handling today's meeting. Now, shall we begin? As the meeting progressed, Michael found himself hyper-aware of every glance, every whispered comment. He noticed the way some board members seemed to defer to David more than usual, the subtle nods and knowing looks exchanged across the table. Halfway through David's presentation on the company's quarterly performance, Michael caught sight of something that made his blood run cold. In the reflection of the window behind David, he could see a document on the lap of board member Richard Tanner. The logo at the top was unmistakable: Global Communications, TechVision's biggest rival. Michael's mind raced. Why would Richard have a Global Communications document at a TechVision board meeting? The pieces began to fall into place. Emily's warning, David's evasiveness, the strange atmosphere in the room. David, Michael interrupted, his voice cutting through the room like a knife. I'd like to discuss the Morrison contract. The one we've been negotiating for the past month. David faltered, confusion flickering across his face. The Morrison contract. I'm not sure that's on today's agenda, Michael. Humor me, Michael insisted, his eyes scanning the room. He noticed Richard subtly trying to hide the document, while other board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Well, David began, clearly caught off guard. The negotiations are still ongoing. We're confident we can secure the contract within the next... That's interesting, Michael cut in, his voice dangerously low, because I received a call this morning informing me that Morrison had signed with Global Communications, a deal that was apparently finalized 3 days ago while I was unconscious in a hospital bed. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Michael stood slowly, his hands planted firmly on the table as he looked each board member in the eye. Now, I'm going to ask this once, and I expect complete honesty, he said, his voice steady despite the anger and betrayal churning inside him. What exactly has been going on in my absence? The silence stretched on, board members exchanging nervous glances. It was Eleanor who finally spoke up, her voice tinged with regret. Michael, you have to understand. We were acting in the best interest of the company. Your health scare. It made us realize how vulnerable TechVision is. We needed to explore our options. Michael's jaw clenched. Options? And those options included consorting with our biggest rival. David stepped forward, his hands raised placatingly. Michael, please. We can explain everything. This isn't what it looks like. But Michael had heard enough. The betrayal cut deep, all the more painful coming from those he had trusted most. He straightened up, his voice cold and authoritative. This meeting is adjourned. I expect detailed reports on every decision made in my absence on my desk within the hour. And as of this moment, all of you are suspended pending a full investigation. As the board members filed out, a mixture of shame and defiance on their faces, Michael remained standing at the head of the table. The New York skyline stretched out before him, a vista he had once viewed as his domain. Now it seemed to mock him, a reminder of how quickly empires could crumble. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through his contacts until he found the number for his personal lawyer. As he waited for the call to connect, Michael's mind wandered back to the hospital, to the young nurse with the familiar eyes who had tried to warn him. Emily. He needed to find her, to understand how she knew about the danger he was facing. As the lawyer's voice came through the phone, Michael made a mental note to track down the mysterious nurse who had inadvertently become his ally in this corporate chess game. Little did Michael know, his search for Emily would uncover secrets far more personal and earth-shattering than any business betrayal. The stage was set for a drama that would test not just his business acumen, but the very foundations of his identity and his understanding of family. As he began outlining the situation to his lawyer, Michael Johnson stood at the precipice of a journey that would change his life forever. The boardroom battle was just the beginning. The real storm was yet to come. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Michael Johnson's office as he paced back and forth, his mind racing with the implications of what he'd uncovered, the betrayal of his board members, the clandestine dealings with global communications. It all seemed surreal, like a plotline from one of those corporate thriller novels he never had time to read. Michael paused at the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the New York skyline. The city that had always represented opportunity and conquest now seemed fraught with hidden dangers. He loosened his tie, feeling the weight of the day's events pressing down on him. A soft knock at the door interrupted his brooding. "Come in!" he called out, not turning from the window. Sarah, his assistant, entered tentatively. "Mr. Johnson, I've compiled the reports you requested from the board members. And your lawyer is on line 1, Michael nodded, finally turning to face her. "Thank you, Sarah. Hold my calls after this one, please. I need some time to think." As Sarah left, closing the door behind her, Michael picked up the phone. "John, what have you found out?" The gravelly voice of John Pearson, Michael's longtime legal counsel and friend, came through the line. "It's not good, Michael. From what I can gather, there's been a coordinated effort to undermine your position in the company. The board members have been in talks with global communications for weeks, possibly longer." Michael's free hand clenched into a fist. "And David, what's his role in all this?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "David seems to be at the center of it, Michael. I'm sorry, but it looks like he's been the one orchestrating most of these moves." The news hit Michael like a physical blow. David had been more than just his COO. He'd been a friend, a confidant. They'd built TechVision together from the ground up. The betrayal stung deep, reopening emotional wounds Michael thought had long since healed. "What are our options, John?" Michael asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "We need to move fast," John replied. "I'm preparing injunctions to prevent any further unauthorized dealings. We'll need to call an emergency shareholders meeting, present our evidence, and move to have the board members removed. It's going to be a fight, Michael, but we can win this." Michael nodded, even though John couldn't see him. "Do it, whatever it takes. I won't let them steal my company out from under me." After ending the call, Michael sank into his chair, the weight of the situation fully settling on his shoulders. He closed his eyes, taking deep breaths to center himself. As he did, an image flashed in his mind. The young nurse, Emily, her eyes filled with concern as she warned him not to attend the meeting. How had she known? The question nagged at him, refusing to let go. Michael reached for his phone again, this time dialing the hospital. "Mount Sinai Hospital, how may I direct your call?" A cheerful voice answered. "This is Michael Johnson. I'm trying to reach a nurse who was caring for me during my recent stay. Her name is Emily." There was a pause, followed by the sound of typing. "I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, but we don't have any nurses by that name currently on staff." Michael frowned. "That's impossible. She was there just this morning. Brown hair, petite, probably in her late 20s or early 30s. "I understand, sir, but I'm looking at our staff roster right now, and there's no Emily listed. Perhaps you misread her name tag." Frustration welled up inside Michael. "No, I'm certain her name was Emily. Can you check again? Please, it's important." The receptionist's voice softened, sensing his distress. "I'll double-check with our HR department, Mr. Johnson. Can I put you on hold?" As the hold music played softly in his ear, Michael's mind whirled with possibilities. Had he imagined Emily? No, she had been too real, too present. Her warning had been specific, her concern genuine. Something wasn't adding up. The receptionist's voice came back on the line. "Mr. Johnson, I've spoken with HR, and they confirm we have no nurse named Emily working here. Is it possible you saw her at a different hospital?" Michael thanked the receptionist and hung up, more confused than ever. He pulled up the hospital's website on his computer, scrolling through pages of staff photos. No Emily. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. A knock at the door jolted Michael from his thoughts. Sarah entered, a concerned look on her face. "Mr. Johnson, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent." Michael's heart skipped a beat. "Is it a young woman named Emily?" Sarah shook her head. "No, sir. It's Ms. Winters, Eleanor Winters." Michael's brow furrowed. Eleanor was the eldest member of his board, a woman he had always considered a mentor and ally. What could she want now, after the revelations of the day? "Send her in," Michael said, steeling himself for another confrontation. Eleanor entered, her usual confident stride replaced by a hesitant shuffle. The weight of guilt seemed to hang heavy on her shoulders as she approached Michael's desk. "Michael," she began, her voice wavering slightly, "I owe you an explanation." Michael leaned back in his chair, his face a mask of controlled emotion. "I'm listening, Eleanor, though I'm not sure what you could say that would justify what's happened." Eleanor sank into the chair across from him, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of regret and determination. "But it wasn't supposed to go this far, Michael. We were trying to protect the company, to ensure its survival if you didn't recover." Michael's jaw clenched. "And that required secret meetings with our biggest rival, undermining everything we've built. You have to understand," Eleanor pleaded. "When you had that heart attack, it scared us all. We realized how vulnerable the company was, how dependent it had become on you. David convinced us that we needed a contingency plan." "David," Michael repeated, the name tasting bitter on his tongue. "And I suppose it was his idea to sell us out to global communications." Eleanor shook her head. "No, that came later. At first, it was just about restructuring, creating a leadership structure that could function without you if necessary. But then David started pushing for more aggressive moves. He said we needed to position ourselves for the future." Michael leaned forward, his eyes boring into Eleanor's. "And you went along with it. All of you." "Not all of us," Eleanor admitted. "Some of us had reservations, but David was persuasive, and with you in the hospital." She trailed off, unable to meet Michael's gaze. "Why are you telling me this now, Eleanor?" Michael asked, his voice low and controlled. Eleanor straightened in her chair, a flash of the strong woman Michael had always known shining through. "Because it's not too late to fix this, Michael. The deal with global communications isn't finalized. If we move quickly, we can still salvage the situation." Michael stood, walking to the window once more. The city lights were starting to twinkle in the gathering dusk, a reminder of the countless lives that depended on the decisions made in rooms like this. "What exactly are you proposing, Eleanor?" he asked, not turning around. "Help me gather evidence against David," Eleanor said, her voice gaining strength. "I'll testify to the board's actions, take responsibility for my part in it. With my support and the evidence we can gather, we can oust David and the others who've gone too far. We can save Tech Vision, Michael." Michael turned slowly, studying Eleanor's face. He saw fear there, yes, but also determination and a glimmer of the loyalty he'd always valued in her. "It won't be easy," he said finally. "We'll be fighting against people who know our every move, who have inside information on all our operations." Eleanor nodded. "I know, but it's the right thing to do. I made a mistake, Michael, and I want to make it right." As Michael considered Eleanor's offer, his mind drifted once again to Emily, the mysterious nurse who had tried to warn him. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was somehow connected to all of this, a missing piece in the puzzle he was trying to solve. "All right, Eleanor," Michael said at last, "I'll give you a chance to make this right. But understand this, if I catch even a hint of further deception, I'll bring the full force of my resources down on everyone involved. Is that clear?" Eleanor nodded, relief washing over her features. "Crystal clear, Michael. Thank you for this opportunity. I won't let you down again." As Eleanor left the office, Michael sank back into his chair, the events of the day catching up with him. He was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, but he knew the real battle was just beginning. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through his contacts until he found the number for his most trusted private investigator. As he waited for the call to connect, Michael made a mental list of priorities: gather evidence against David and the compromised board members, track down the mysterious Emily, and uncover the full extent of the conspiracy against him. Little did Michael know, his search for answers would lead him down a path he never expected, uncovering secrets that would shake the very foundations of his life. As the city lights twinkled outside his window, Michael Johnson stood at the threshold of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself, his company, and the people he trusted most. The stage was set for a drama that would test not just his business acumen, but the very essence of who he was as a person. And somewhere out there, a young nurse named Emily held the key to unlocking it all. The New York skyline glittered like a constellation of earthbound stars as Michael Johnson stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Tech Vision conference room. The early morning light was just beginning to paint the sky in hues of pink and gold, but Michael had been awake for hours, his mind racing with strategies and contingencies. He turned as the door opened, revealing David Green. His longtime friend and COO entered the room with an air of casual confidence that Michael now recognized as carefully crafted. How long had David been playing this game? How long had he been plotting behind Michael's back? "Michael," David greeted, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "I'm glad you called this meeting. We have a lot to discuss." Michael nodded, gesturing for David to take a seat. "Indeed we do, David. Indeed we do." As David settled into one of the plush leather chairs, Michael remained standing, using his position to subtly assert dominance. It was a technique he'd employed countless times in negotiations, but never had he imagined using it against someone he once considered a brother. "I'll cut straight to the chase," Michael began, his voice steady and controlled. "I know about the dealings with Global Communications. I know about the board's plans to restructure the company behind my back. What I don't know is why. David, why would you betray me like this?" David's facade of confidence faltered for a moment, surprise flashing across his features before he regained composure. "Betray you? Michael, you've got it all wrong. Everything we've done has been to protect Tech Vision, to protect your legacy." Michael's eyes narrowed. "My legacy. And I suppose secretly negotiating with our biggest rival is part of protecting that legacy. You have to understand the position we were in." David leaned forward, his voice taking on an earnest tone. "When you had that heart attack, it threw everything into chaos. The board was panicking, investors were getting nervous. We had to do something to stabilize the situation. And that something involved going behind my back," Michael countered, his voice sharp. "But you could have come to me, David. We could have faced this together like we've always done." David shook his head, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. "You weren't there, Michael. You were lying in a hospital bed, and none of us knew if you were going to make it. We had to act fast to prevent a nosedive in stock prices and keep our major contracts from jumping ship." Michael paced the length of the conference room, his mind working to process David's explanation. Part of him wanted to believe his friend, to accept that this was all just a misunderstanding born out of a crisis, but the businessman in him, the part that had built Tech Vision from the ground up, knew better. "And the deal with Global Communications?" Michael asked, turning to face David once more. "How does that fit into your plan to protect the company?" David hesitated, and in that moment of silence, Michael saw the truth written across his face. This wasn't just about protecting Tech Vision. This was a power play, pure and simple. "Global approached us with an offer," David finally said. "A merger that would make us the dominant force in the tech industry. It was an opportunity we couldn't ignore. Michael, think about it. With our innovation and their resources, we could change the world." Michael's jaw clenched. "A merger or a takeover, David? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were ready to sell us out to the highest bidder." "It's not like that," David protested, rising from his chair. "We would still maintain significant control. Your vision would still guide the company." "My vision?" Michael's laugh was devoid of humor. My vision never included stabbing friends in the back or making deals with our biggest competitors. My vision was about innovation, about creating technology that improves lives. When did that stop being enough for you, David? The two men stood facing each other, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. Years of friendship and shared dreams hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of irreparable damage. What happens now? David asked, his voice quiet but defiant. Michael took a deep breath, centering himself. When he spoke, his voice was calm and resolute. Now, you have a choice to make. You can either help me undo the damage you've done, come clean about everything that's happened, or you can walk out that door and prepare for the fight of your life. Because make no mistake, David, I will not let you or anyone else take my company from me. David's eyes widened, a flicker of the old respect and admiration passing across his face. You really think you can win this fight? The board is already on board with the merger. The wheels are in motion, Michael. Then I'll stop them, Michael replied, his voice filled with determination. I've faced worse odds before, David. Or have you forgotten how we started this company? Two guys with a dream and a garage full of half-built prototypes. If I could build tech vision from nothing, I can damn well save it from vultures like global communications. For a moment, David looked like he might argue further, but then his shoulders sagged slightly. I never wanted it to come to this, Michael. You have to believe that. Michael's expression softened slightly. I want to believe you, David. God knows I want to, but right now I need more than words. I need action. So what's it going to be? The silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of years of friendship and shared history. Finally, David spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What do you need me to do? Relief washed over Michael, though he was careful not to let it show on his face. First, I need every document, every email, every scrap of information related to the dealings with global communications. Then, I need you to call an emergency board meeting. It's time we laid all our cards on the table. David nodded, a mixture of resignation and respect in his eyes. And after that, Michael's gaze was steel. After that, we fight. We fight to save Tech Vision, to protect everything we've built. And when the dust settles, we'll see where we stand. As David turned to leave, Michael called out to him. One more thing, David. I need to know about Emily. David froze, his hand on the doorknob. Emily, what are you talking about? Michael's eyes narrowed. The nurse from the hospital, the one who warned me not to come to the board meeting. Don't tell me you don't know who I'm talking about. A flicker of confusion passed over David's face. Michael, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. There was no nurse named Emily involved in any of this. As David left the room, Michael stood rooted to the spot, his mind whirling. If David wasn't behind Emily's warning, then who was? And how did she know about the danger Michael was facing? The mystery of Emily, the nurse, loomed larger than ever, a puzzle piece that refused to fit into the larger picture. As Michael turned back to the window, watching the sun climb higher in the sky, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something crucial, something that went beyond corporate intrigue and boardroom battles. Little did he know, the answers he sought would lead him down a path he never expected, unraveling a mystery that went far beyond Tech Vision and straight to the heart of his own past. As the city below began to buzz with the energy of a new day, Michael Johnson stood at the precipice of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself and the world around him. The stage was set for a drama that would test not just his business acumen, but the very foundations of his identity. And somewhere out there, a young nurse named Emily held the key to unlocking it all. The real battle was just beginning, and Michael Johnson was determined to face it head-on, no matter where it might lead him. The tension in the Tech Vision boardroom was palpable as Michael Johnson stood at the head of the long mahogany table. The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, exchanging furtive glances as Michael's steely gaze swept across the room. The New York skyline, visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows, seemed to mock the turmoil unfolding within. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," Michael began, his voice steady and controlled, "I've called this emergency meeting to address some disturbing information that has come to my attention." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the room. David Green, seated to Michael's right, kept his eyes fixed on the table, unable to meet the questioning looks from his fellow board members. "It seems," Michael continued, "that in my absence, certain decisions were made without my knowledge or consent. Decisions that, if implemented, would fundamentally alter the course of this company." Eleanor Winters, the eldest board member, leaned forward. "And Michael, I think I speak for all of us when I say that any actions taken were done with the best interests of Tech Vision in mind." Michael's eyes locked onto Eleanor's. "Were they, Eleanor, was secretly negotiating with Global Communications in the best interest of Tech Vision, was planning to restructure the company behind my back for the good of all?" A collective gasp rippled through the room. Richard Tanner, the board member Michael had caught with the Global Communications document, visibly paled. "How did you—" Richard began, but Michael cut him off with a raised hand. "How I know is irrelevant," Michael stated firmly. "What matters is that I do know, and I'm giving you all one chance to come clean and explain yourselves." The silence that followed was deafening. Board members exchanged nervous glances, each seemingly waiting for someone else to speak first. It was David who finally broke the tension. "Michael," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "you have to understand the position we were in. When you had that heart attack, everything was thrown into chaos. We had to act to stabilize the company." Michael's jaw clenched. "And that required going behind my back, making deals with our biggest competitor." "It wasn't like that," Eleanor interjected, her voice tinged with desperation. "At first, it was just about creating a contingency plan. But then Global Communications approached us with an offer we couldn't ignore." "An offer?" Michael's voice dripped with sarcasm. "And what exactly did this offer entail?" David cleared his throat. "A merger, Michael. A merger that would make us the dominant force in the tech industry. With our innovation and their resources, we could change the world." Michael's laugh was devoid of humor. "Change the world by selling out everything we've built, everything we stand for." He turned to address the entire board. "I built this company from the ground up. I've poured my blood, sweat, and tears into making Tech Vision a leader in innovation and ethical technology. And you were all ready to throw that away for what? A quick profit? A chance to cozy up to our biggest rival." The board members had the decency to look ashamed, but Michael wasn't finished. He pulled out a stack of documents and slammed them onto the table. "These," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "are copies of every email, every document, every scrap of information related to your dealings with Global Communications. I know exactly what each of you has done, what roles you've played in this conspiracy." The color drained from several faces around the table. Richard Tanner looked like he might be sick. "So here's what's going to happen," Michael continued, his voice leaving no room for argument. "This merger is dead. Any and all negotiations with Global Communications cease immediately. And each of you has a choice to make." He paused, making eye contact with each board member in turn. "You can either resign from this board, effective immediately, or you can stay and help me undo the damage you've done. But understand this, if you choose to stay, you will be under intense scrutiny. One step out of line, one hint of further deception, and you'll not only lose your position, but I'll make sure you never work in this industry again." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of Michael's ultimatum. It was Eleanor who spoke first, her voice shaky but determined. "I'll stay," she said. "I made a mistake, and I want to make it right." One by one, other board members echoed Eleanor's sentiment. Some, like Richard Tanner, chose to resign on the spot. By the time the dust settled, only half the original board remained. Michael nodded, a grim satisfaction settling over him. "Very well. For those of you staying, our work begins now. We have a lot of damage to undo." As the meeting adjourned and the board members filed out, Michael noticed David lingering behind. When they were alone, David approached, his face a mask of regret and uncertainty. "Michael," he began, "I know I've betrayed your trust. I understand if you want me to resign as well." Michael studied his old friend's face, searching for any sign of the loyalty and camaraderie they once shared. After a long moment, he spoke. "You're right, David. You did betray my trust, and it's going to take a long time to rebuild that, if it's even possible." David nodded, accepting the rebuke. "I understand. I'll clear out my office." "I'm not finished," Michael interrupted. "You're not resigning, David. You're going to stay right where you are, and you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life to fix this mess." Surprise flickered across David's face. You're keeping me on." Michael's expression hardened. "Don't mistake this for forgiveness, David. I'm keeping you here because you know where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. You're going to help me root out every last bit of this conspiracy and set things right." David nodded, a mixture of relief and determination settling over his features. "I won't let you down, Michael. I promise." As David turned to leave, Michael called out to him, "One more thing, David. I need to know about Emily." David froze, confusion evident on his face. "Emily? I told you, Michael, I don't know anything about a nurse named Emily." Michael's eyes narrowed. "And are you sure about that, David? Because someone warned me about the danger I was facing, and if it wasn't you or the board, then who was it?" David shook his head. "I swear, Michael, I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe you imagined it. You were under a lot of stress in the hospital." As David left the room, Michael turned to the windows, his mind racing. If David and the board weren't behind Emily's warning, then who was she? And how did she know about the conspiracy? The mystery of Emily the nurse loomed larger than ever, a puzzle piece that refused to fit into the larger picture. As Michael watched the bustling city below, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something crucial, something that went beyond corporate intrigue and boardroom battles. Little did he know, the answers he sought would lead him down a path he never expected, unraveling a mystery that went far beyond tech vision and straight to the heart of his own past. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the city, Michael Johnson stood at the precipice of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself and the world around him. The stage was set for a drama that would test not just his business acumen, but the very foundations of his identity. And somewhere out there, a young nurse named Emily held the key to unlocking it all. The real battle was just beginning, and Michael Johnson was determined to face it head-on, no matter where it might lead him. As he turned back to his desk, Michael's resolve hardened. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Jack? It's Michael Johnson. I need your help with something discreet. How soon can you meet me?" The voice on the other end of the line responded quickly, and Michael nodded. "Good. I'll see you in an hour. And Jack, come prepared. We've got a mystery to solve." As he hung up the phone, Michael felt a strange mix of anticipation and dread. He was about to embark on a journey that would either save everything he'd built or tear it all down. But one thing was certain. He would get to the bottom of this mystery, no matter the cost. The game was afoot, and Michael Johnson was ready to play. The bustling streets of New York City faded into a blur as Michael Johnson's sleek black sedan weaved through traffic. He sat in the back, his eyes fixed on the passing scenery without really seeing it, his mind consumed with the mystery that had engulfed his life. "Where to, Mr. Johnson?" Thomas, his longtime chauffeur, asked from the front seat. "The Gramercy Park Hotel," Michael replied, his voice distant. "I'm meeting an old friend." As the car pulled up to the historic hotel, Michael straightened his tie and took a deep breath. He was about to dive headfirst into an investigation that could change everything, and he needed to be prepared. The hotel lobby was a study in understated elegance, all dark wood and muted colors. Michael scanned the room, his eyes finally landing on a figure seated in a corner booth of the bar. Jack Donovan hadn't changed much in the years since Michael had last seen him, still lean and wiry, with piercing blue eyes that missed nothing. "Michael," Jack greeted, standing to shake his hand. "It's been a while." Michael nodded, sliding into the booth across from his old friend. "Too long, Jack." "I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice." Jack waved off the thanks. "When Michael Johnson calls asking for help, you answer. Now, what's this all about?" Michael leaned forward, lowering his voice. "What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. I need your word on that, Jack." Jack's expression turned serious. "You have it." "What's going on, Michael?" Over the next hour, Michael laid out the whole story: the heart attack, the mysterious nurse named Emily, the conspiracy within Tech Vision, and the lingering questions that kept him up at night. Jack listened intently, his brow furrowing deeper with each revelation. When Michael finished, Jack let out a low whistle. "That's quite a tale, Michael. And you're sure this nurse, Emily, isn't connected to the board's machinations?" Michael shook his head. "I've been over it 100 times. Nobody on the board seems to know anything about her. It's like she appeared out of thin air, warned me, and then vanished." Jack leaned back, his mind clearly working overtime. "All right, let's approach this systematically. We need to track down this Emily." "You said the hospital has no record of her?" "None," Michael confirmed. "I've called multiple times, spoken to HR, even had my assistant go down there in person. There's no nurse named Emily matching her description." Jack nodded, pulling out a small notebook. "Okay, give me every detail you can remember about her. Age, height, distinguishing features, anything at all." Michael closed his eyes, picturing Emily's face. Mid to late 20s, I'd say. Petite, maybe 5'4" or 5'5". Brown hair, warm brown eyes. There was something familiar about her eyes, but I can't place it. As Michael continued describing Emily, Jack jotted down notes, occasionally asking for clarification. When Michael finished, Jack tapped his pen against the notebook thoughtfully. "It's not much to go on, but it's a start," he said. "I'll run her description through some databases, see if we can get any hits. In the meantime, I want to look into this global communications angle. Something doesn't add up there." Michael nodded in agreement. "I thought the same thing. Why would they suddenly offer a merger after years of cutthroat competition?" "Exactly," Jack said, a glint in his eye. "I've got some contacts in corporate intelligence. I'll see what I can dig up on Global's recent activities, any whispers of big moves or shake-ups." As they continued to discuss strategy, Michael felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. For the first time since this ordeal began, he felt like he was making progress, like he had an ally in this fight. "There's one more thing, Jack," Michael said as their meeting wound down. "I can't shake the feeling that Emily is connected to all of this somehow. Not just the corporate stuff, but something deeper, something personal." Jack studied his friend's face carefully. "What makes you say that?" Michael shook his head, frustrated. "I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. The way she looked at me, the concern in her voice, it felt like more than just a nurse worried about a patient." Jack nodded slowly. "I've learned to trust your instincts, Michael. If you think there's a personal angle here, we'll explore it. Is there anyone from your past who might have a reason to get involved in this? An old flame, an estranged family member?" Michael's mind raced through possibilities, but nothing clicked. "I can't think of anyone. My parents are gone, no siblings. I've had relationships, but nothing that ended badly enough to warrant this kind of involvement." "All right," Jack said, closing his notebook. "We'll keep that avenue open, but for now, let's focus on what we can track down concretely. I'll get started on the Emily search and the global communications intel. You focus on keeping Tech Vision stable and watching your back. We don't know how deep this conspiracy goes." As they stood to leave, Jack placed a hand on Michael's shoulder. "We'll figure this out, Michael. Just like old times, eh?" Michael managed a small smile. "Just like old times. Thanks, Jack. I owe you one." "You owe me several," Jack quipped with a wink. "But who's counting?" As Michael watched Jack disappear into the New York crowd, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mystery of Emily and the Tech Vision conspiracy was far from solved, but for the first time, he felt like he was on the right track. Back at Tech Vision headquarters, Michael threw himself into damage control. He spent hours in meetings, reassuring key investors, smoothing over ruffled feathers with important clients, and working with the remaining board members to chart a new course for the company. It was late in the evening when Michael finally found a moment to breathe. He stood at the windows of his office, looking out at the city lights twinkling in the darkness. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack. "Found something interesting. Meet tomorrow, same place, 8 a.m. Michael's heart raced with anticipation. What had Jack uncovered? Was it about Emily or something to do with global communications? As he pondered the possibilities, Michael's gaze fell on a framed photo on his desk. It was an old picture, taken years ago when Tech Vision was just starting out. He and David stood in front of their first office, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning with the optimism of young entrepreneurs ready to take on the world. The sight of the photo stirred something in Michael's memory. There was something about Emily's eyes, the warmth and familiarity he'd sensed. Could it be connected to his past somehow? Michael shook his head, trying to clear the fog of exhaustion and confusion. He was missing something, some crucial piece of the puzzle that would make everything fall into place. And tomorrow, with Jack's help, he might just find it. As he gathered his things to head home, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the verge of a major breakthrough. The mystery of Emily, the conspiracy at Tech Vision, the shadowy motives of global communications. It all seemed to be converging, rushing towards a revelation that would change everything. Little did Michael know, the truth he sought was closer than he could have imagined, and it would shake the very foundations of his world. As he stepped into the elevator, Michael Johnson stood on the precipice of a discovery that would redefine not just his company, but his entire life. The stage was set for a dramatic unveiling, and the next act was about to begin. Michael steeled himself for whatever tomorrow might bring, knowing that one way or another, nothing would ever be the same again. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the streets of New York as Michael Johnson made his way back to the Gramercy Park Hotel. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and theories, each one a potential key to unlocking the mystery that had consumed his life. As he entered the hotel's dimly lit bar, he spotted Jack Donovan, already seated in their usual corner booth, a steaming cup of coffee in front of him and a thick manila folder on the table. "Morning, Michael," Jack greeted, pushing a second cup of coffee towards him. "You look like you could use this." Michael nodded gratefully, taking a long sip before settling into the booth. "What have you got for me, Jack?" Jack's expression turned serious as he opened the folder. I've got good news and, well, let's call it interesting news. Which do you want first?" "Let's start with the good," Michael replied, bracing himself for whatever was to come. Jack nodded, pulling out a series of documents. "I've managed to track down some information on global communications' recent activities. It seems they've been quietly acquiring smaller tech companies over the past year, all specializing in areas that complement Tech Vision's core technologies." Michael's brow furrowed. "They're building a competing portfolio." "Exactly," Jack confirmed. "But here's where it gets interesting. These acquisitions have been carefully structured to fly under the radar. If I hadn't been specifically looking for them, they might have gone unnoticed." Michael leaned back, his mind racing. So Global wasn't just looking for a simple merger. They were positioning themselves to absorb Tech Vision completely. Jack nodded grimly. "It looks that way. If the merger had gone through, they would have had all the pieces in place to strip Tech Vision for parts and eliminate a major competitor in one fell swoop." Michael's jaw clenched as the full implications sank in. The betrayal by his board members suddenly seemed even more egregious. "Good work, Jack. This information could be crucial in protecting Tech Vision moving forward." "There's more," Jack said, his tone shifting. "And I also found something about your mysterious nurse, Emily." Michael leaned forward, his heart racing. "What did you find?" Jack hesitated for a moment, as if unsure how to proceed. "Michael, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to come as a shock. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Michael nodded, steeling himself. "I need to know, Jack. Whatever it is." Jack took a deep breath before continuing. "They ran the description you gave me through various databases, cross-referencing with hospital employee records across the city. There was no exact match, but I did find something unexpected." He pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table. Michael's breath caught in his throat as he looked at the image. It was a young woman, her features strikingly similar to the Emily he remembered from the hospital. "This is Emily Parker," Jack explained. "Well, she's a nursing student at NYU, set to graduate next year. But Michael, that's not all." Michael tore his gaze away from the photo to look at Jack. "What else?" Jack's voice was gentle as he delivered the news that would change everything. "Emily Parker is your daughter, Michael." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as Michael struggled to process Jack's words. "My daughter? That's impossible. I don't have any children." Jack pushed another document across the table, a birth certificate. "Emily Parker, born 28 years ago to Samantha Parker and Michael Johnson." Michael's hands shook as he picked up the birth certificate, his eyes fixed on the names listed as parents. "Samantha. I remember her. We dated briefly in college, but she told me she'd had a miscarriage." "It seems she lied," Jack said softly. "From what I've been able to piece together, Samantha's mother, Elena, forced her to give you up and lie about the pregnancy. She raised Emily as a single mother." Michael's mind reeled with the implications. A daughter. He had a daughter he'd never known about, a child who had grown up without him. And now, somehow, she had inserted herself into his life at a crucial moment. "But why now?" Michael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why would she come to me like this? Warn me about the board meeting?" Jack shook his head. "That's still unclear, but there's more. Michael, Samantha Parker. She passed away 5 years ago. Cancer." The news hit Michael like a physical blow. Samantha, the vibrant, passionate young woman he'd known in college, was gone, and their daughter, the child he'd never known, had lost her mother. "And I need to find her, Jack," Michael said, his voice filled with a new determination. "I need to talk to Emily, to understand why she came to me, why she didn't just tell me who she was." Jack nodded, understanding the urgency in his friend's voice. "I've got her last known address. But Michael, you need to be prepared. This isn't going to be an easy conversation." As they left the hotel, Michael's mind was a tempest of emotions. Joy at the discovery of a daughter he never knew he had, anger at the deception that had kept them apart, grief for the years lost and the mother, Emily, had already buried. The drive to Emily's apartment in Brooklyn was a blur. Michael's hands clenched and unclenched in his lap as he tried to imagine what he would say to her. How do you begin a conversation with the daughter you've just discovered exists? As they pulled up to a modest brownstone, Michael took a deep breath, centering himself. He thought back to his encounter with Emily in the hospital, the familiar warmth in her eyes that had puzzled him at the time. Now, it all made sense. "Do you want me to come with you?" Jack asked as Michael stepped out of the car. Michael shook his head. "No, I need to do this alone. But thank you, Jack, for everything." As he climbed the steps to Emily's apartment, Michael felt like he was walking into the most important meeting of his life. His hand hovered over the doorbell for a moment before he finally pressed it, the sound echoing in the quiet morning air. Seconds ticked by like hours. Then the door opened and Michael found himself face to face with Emily. The young woman's eyes widened in surprise, a mix of emotions flashing across her face. Fear, hope, uncertainty. "Mr. Johnson," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect to see you here." Michael's voice was thick with emotion as he spoke the words he never thought he'd say. "Hello, Emily. I think we need to talk." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, stepping back to let him in. As Michael crossed the threshold, he knew he was stepping into a new chapter of his life, one that would redefine everything he thought he knew about family, love, and the true meaning of success. The door closed behind them, and father and daughter stood face to face, 28 years of secrets and unspoken words hanging in the air between them. The stage was set for a conversation that would change both their lives forever, a reckoning with the past and a tentative step towards a future neither of them had ever imagined. As Emily led him into her small living room, Michael's eyes took in every detail: the framed nursing degree on the wall, the photos of Samantha scattered around the room, the nervous energy radiating from his newfound daughter. "Please, sit down," Emily said, gesturing to the couch. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the calm exterior she was trying to maintain. Michael lowered himself onto the couch, his eyes never leaving Emily's face. Now that he knew the truth, he could see traces of himself in her features, the shape of her eyes, the determined set of her jaw. How did you find out?" Emily asked, perching on the edge of an armchair across from him. Michael took a deep breath. "I hired a private investigator to look into your warning at the hospital. He uncovered the truth about your birth certificate, about Samantha." Emily nodded, her eyes downcast. "I'm sorry for the deception, Mr. Johnson. I didn't know how else to approach you." "Please," Michael said softly, "call me Michael, or whatever you're comfortable with." The words hung in the air between them, the unspoken "father" echoing in the silence. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I've wanted to tell you for so long, Mom. She made me promise not to before she died. She was afraid of disrupting your life, of causing a scandal." Michael leaned forward, his voice gentle. "Emily, I need you to know that if I had known about you, if Samantha had told me the truth all those years ago, I would have been there. I would have been a part of your life." A sob escaped Emily's throat. "I know. Mum told me. In the end." She regretted the lie, but she was too afraid to undo it. As the morning wore on, father and daughter began the delicate process of getting to know each other. Emily shared stories of her childhood, of Samantha's battle with cancer, of her own journey to become a nurse. Michael listened with rapt attention, his heart aching for all the moments he had missed. In turn, Michael opened up about his life, the building of Tech Vision, and the recent turmoil that had brought them together. Emily's eyes widened as she realized the full scope of what her warning had prevented. "I overheard 2 board members talking at the hospital," she explained. "I knew I had to warn you, but I was afraid you wouldn't believe me if I just came out and told you who I was." As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting warm light through the apartment windows, Michael and Emily found themselves laughing over shared mannerisms, marveling at genetic traits passed down. But beneath the tentative joy of their reunion, Michael could sense an undercurrent of pain and uncertainty. 28 years of absence couldn't be erased in a single morning. "Emily," Michael said, his voice serious, "I want you to know that I'm here now. If you'll have me, I want to be a part of your life. I know I can't make up for lost time, but I want to try." Emily's eyes shimmered with tears as she nodded. "I'd like that, Dad." The word sent a jolt through Michael's heart. He reached out, tentatively taking Emily's hand in his own. It was a small gesture, but it felt like the beginning of something monumental. As they continued to talk, the outside world faded away. The corporate intrigue, the betrayals, the looming battles, all of it seemed insignificant in the face of this newfound connection. But even as Michael reveled in the joy of discovering his daughter, a part of his mind couldn't help but wonder about the implications. How would this affect Tech Vision? What would the board say? And most pressingly, how did Emily fit into the larger picture of the conspiracy he was unraveling? These questions would need answers. But for now, Michael pushed them aside. In this moment, he wasn't Michael Johnson, CEO of Tech Vision. He was simply a father, getting to know his daughter for the first time. As the morning turned to afternoon, Michael knew that his life had irrevocably changed. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with obstacles, both personal and professional. But for the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose that went beyond business success. With Emily by his side, Michael was ready to face whatever came next. The mystery of her appearance in his life had been solved, but a new chapter was just beginning, one that promised to be the most important of his life. As father and daughter continued to talk, laugh, and slowly bridge the gap of years lost, the world outside the apartment faded into insignificance. For now, all that mattered was this moment, this connection, and the promise of a future neither of them had dared to imagine. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across Emily's small Brooklyn apartment, Michael Johnson found himself lost in a whirlwind of emotions. The joy of discovering his daughter warred with the pain of lost years and the lingering questions about the circumstances that had kept them apart for so long. Emily sat across from him, her hands nervously fidgeting with a worn photograph. Michael recognized it as one of the many pictures of Samantha scattered around the apartment. His heart ached at the sight of his college sweetheart, forever frozen in time, her smile bright and carefree. "Your mother," Michael began, his voice thick with emotion, "she told me she had a miscarriage. I never knew. I never even suspected." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. "I know. Mom told me everything before she died. She wanted me to understand why she made the choices she did." Michael leaned forward, his gaze intense. "Can you tell me? I need to know what happened, Emily. Why did Samantha lie? Why did she keep you from me?" Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself for the story she was about to tell. "It wasn't entirely Mom's decision. My grandmother, Elena, she orchestrated the whole thing." As Emily began to recount the tale, Michael felt himself transported back in time to a world he thought he'd left behind decades ago. 28 years earlier, Samantha Parker paced nervously in her childhood bedroom, her hand resting protectively over her still flat stomach. The sound of her mother's footsteps coming up the stairs sent a jolt of fear through her. Elena Parker burst into the room, her face a mask of barely contained fury. "Is it true?" she demanded. "Are you pregnant?" Samantha nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Mom, I'm going to have a baby." "Michael's baby?" Elena's eyes flashed dangerously. "That boy, that nobody with delusions of grandeur. Absolutely not. You will not ruin your life for some college fling." "It's not like that, Mom," Samantha protested. "Michael and I love each other. We're going to make this work." Eleanor laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "Love? Your children playing at being adults. No, this ends now. You're going to call Michael and tell him you lost the baby." Samantha's eyes widened in horror. "What? No! I can't lie to him like that. He deserves to know he's going to be a father." "A father?" Elena scoffed. "That boy can barely take care of himself. He'll drag you down with his pipe dreams and foolish ambitions. Is that what you want? To throw away your future for someone who will never amount to anything?" Samantha sank onto her bed, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "You don't know him like I do, Mom. Michael is brilliant. He's going to change the world someday." Elena's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. "Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I won't let you gamble your future on maybes. You're going to finish college, build a career. This baby, it's a mistake, but we can fix it. Fix it." Samantha's voice was barely a whisper. "You mean?" "No," Elena said quickly. "I wouldn't ask that of you. But you're going to have this baby in secret. We'll say you're studying abroad. And when it's born, we'll find a good family to adopt it." Samantha's head snapped up, her eyes blazing with sudden determination. "No, I'm keeping my baby. You can't make me give it up." Eleanor's jaw clenched. "Fine, keep the baby. But Michael can never know. If you tell him, I'll make sure he never sees a penny of the trust fund your father left you. The money that's supposed to help you start your life after college. Gone. And believe me, raising a child on your own with no support, it's not the romantic notion you think it is." Samantha's mind reeled. The trust fund was substantial, enough to give her and the baby a good start in life. Without it, she'd be struggling from day one. And Michael, he had such big dreams. Would he resent her and the baby for holding him back? Think about it, Samantha, Elena pressed. Give Michael a chance to pursue his ambitions. Give yourself a chance to build a life. In a few years, when you're both established, maybe then you can reach out. But for now, this is the best choice for everyone. Tears streamed down Samantha's face as she nodded, defeated. Okay, Mom. I'll tell Michael I lost the baby. Elena's expression softened and she pulled her daughter into a tight embrace. It's for the best, darling. You'll see. This is the right choice for all of you. Back in the present, Michael listened to Emily recount the story, his heart breaking for the young Samantha who had faced such an impossible choice. Your grandmother, Michael said, his voice tight with anger. She manipulated Samantha. She used fear and threats to keep us apart. Emily nodded, her own eyes glistening with unshed tears. Mom regretted it every day. She wanted to tell you so many times. But what? Michael pressed gently. Emily sighed. But by the time she felt ready, you were already becoming successful. Tech Vision was taking off. And Mom, she was afraid of disrupting your life. She thought it was too late. Michael shook his head, a mix of grief and frustration washing over him. It was never too late. If I had known, God, Emily, if I had known about you, I would have moved heaven and earth to be in your life. Emily reached out, tentatively taking Michael's hand. I know that now, and Mom knew it too, in the end. That's why she told me everything before she died. She wanted me to have the chance to know you, even if she couldn't be there to see it. As the weight of the revelation settled over them, Michael felt a surge of determination. He couldn't change the past, couldn't reclaim the years lost to Eleanor's manipulation and Samantha's fear, but he could shape the future. Emily, he said, his voice filled with conviction, I want you to know that from this moment on, I'm here. Whatever you need, whatever support I can offer, it's yours. We can't get back the time we lost, but we can make the most of the time we have now. Emily's eyes welled with fresh tears, but this time, a smile broke through. I'd like that, Dad. The word sent a jolt through Michael's heart, a mixture of joy and lingering sadness for all the times he should have heard it before. As they continued to talk, sharing stories and slowly bridging the gap of years lost, Michael's mind couldn't help but drift to the larger picture. The corporate intrigue at Tech Vision, the looming threat from global communications. It all seemed both vitally important and strangely insignificant in the face of this personal revelation. Emily, Michael said, his tone turning serious, I need to ask you something. You're warning at the hospital. How much do you know about what's going on at Tech Vision? Emily's expression grew somber. Not much, honestly. I overheard two men talking while I was on my clinical rotation. They mentioned your name and something about a takeover. I didn't know the details, but it sounded dangerous. Michael nodded, his mind racing. Those men, do you think you could identify them if you saw them again? Emily hesitated. Maybe. I didn't see them clearly, but I might recognize their voices. A plan began to form in Michael's mind, the corporate conspiracy and his newfound daughter. Two threads of his life that had seemed separate were now inextricably intertwined. Emily, he said, leaning forward, I know this is a lot to ask, especially given everything we've just learned, but I need your help. The situation at Tech Vision is more complicated than I initially thought, and your inside perspective could be crucial. Emily's brow furrowed. What are you asking, exactly? Michael took a deep breath. I'm asking if you'd be willing to work with me, to help me uncover the full extent of this conspiracy and protect the company I've built. It could be dangerous, and I understand if you don't want to get involved. But I promise you, if you do, I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. Emily was quiet for a long moment, her eyes searching Michael's face. Finally, she nodded. Okay, I'm in. Whatever you need, I'll help. Relief and a surge of paternal pride washed over Michael. Thank you, Emily. We'll take this one step at a time. For now, I think it's best if we keep our relationship quiet. The fewer people who know, the safer you'll be. As they began to discuss strategy, Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with corporate intrigue and personal revelations. But with Emily by his side, he felt ready to face whatever came next. The sun was setting as Michael finally prepared to leave Emily's apartment. As he stood in the doorway, he turned back to his daughter, still marveling at the reality of her existence. "And Emily," he said softly, "I want you to know I'm sorry for not being there, for all the moments I missed. I can't change the past, but I promise you, from this day forward, you won't face anything alone." Emily's eyes shimmered with tears as she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around Michael in a tight embrace. "I know, Dad, we can't change what happened, but we can make the most of now. And that's what matters." As Michael held his daughter, he felt a shift in his world. The corporate battles, the betrayals, the looming challenges, they were all still there. But now he had something more to fight for. A family he never knew he had, a connection he never dreamed possible. Stepping out into the Brooklyn evening, Michael Johnson felt like a new man. The mystery of Emily had been solved, but a new chapter was just beginning. With his daughter by his side and a renewed determination to uncover the truth, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The game had changed, the stakes raised higher than ever before. But for the first time in years, Michael felt truly alive, truly purposeful. The journey ahead would be difficult, but with Emily as his ally, he was prepared to fight not just for his company, but for the future they both deserved. As he climbed into his waiting car, Michael's mind was already racing with plans and strategies. The corporate world had no idea what was coming. With the combined strength of father and daughter, a force was about to be unleashed that would shake the very foundations of the business world. The stage was set, the players in position. The next act in this high-stakes drama was about to begin, and Michael Johnson was ready to take center stage. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the sleek glass exterior of TechVision's headquarters as Michael Johnson strode through the lobby, his mind racing with plans and strategies. The events of the past few days had changed everything, and he was determined to use this newfound energy to unravel the conspiracy threatening his company. As he stepped into the elevator, Michael's phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Ready when you are. Let's do this." A small smile tugged at Michael's lips. The thought of working alongside his daughter, of finally having the chance to build a relationship with her, filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. The elevator doors opened to reveal David Green waiting in the hallway, his face a mask of concern and barely concealed anxiety. "Michael?" David greeted, falling into step beside him as they walked towards the CEO's office. "And we need to talk about the upcoming shareholders meeting. There are rumors circulating, and some of our major investors are getting nervous." Michael nodded, his expression giving nothing away. "I'm aware of the situation, David. In fact, I've been doing some investigating of my own. Why don't you join me in my office? There are a few things we need to discuss." As they entered the spacious corner office, Michael noticed David's eyes darting nervously around the room, as if searching for hidden threats. It was a subtle tell, one that Michael might have missed if he hadn't been looking for it. "Have a seat, David," Michael said, gesturing to the chairs in front of his desk. "We've known each other for a long time, haven't we?" David nodded, a flicker of confusion passing across his face. "Of course. We built this company together, Michael. You know, I've always had TechVision's best interests at heart." Michael leaned back in his chair, studying his old friend's face. "That's what I thought too. Which is why I'm having a hard time reconciling that with what I've discovered about your recent activities." David's face paled slightly, but he maintained his composure. "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Michael. If this is about the restructuring plans we discussed, I assure you, this isn't about restructuring." Michael cut him off, his voice sharp. "This is about secret meetings with global communications. This is about plans to sell out TechVision, to strip it for parts, and hand over our innovations to our biggest competitor." David's facade crumbled, his eyes widening in shock. Who told you about that? Michael's gaze was steely as he replied, "It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that I do know, David. I know everything. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" For a moment, David looked like he might try to deny it, to concoct some explanation or excuse. But then his shoulders sagged, the weight of his actions finally settling upon him. "I never meant for it to go this far," David said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When you had that heart attack, everything was thrown into chaos. Global approached us with an offer that seemed too good to pass up. I thought I was protecting the company, ensuring its survival if you didn't recover." Michael's jaw clenched, anger and disappointment warring within him. "And when I did recover, when it became clear that Tech Vision wasn't in danger, why continue with this plan, David?" David ran a hand through his hair, his face a mask of regret. It spiraled out of control. Global kept sweetening the deal, promising more and more. "Before I knew it, I was in too deep to back out." As David continued to explain, laying bare the extent of his involvement in the conspiracy, Michael's mind raced. He thought of Emily, waiting to play her part in uncovering the truth. He thought of the years of friendship and trust that had been shattered in a matter of days. "Here's what's going to happen," Michael said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You're going to tell me everything. Every meeting, every deal, every person involved, and then you're going to help me put a stop to it." David's head snapped up, surprise evident on his face. You're not firing me." Michael's expression was grim. "Don't mistake this for forgiveness, David. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life to fix this mess. And when it's over, when we've saved Tech Vision from the disaster you nearly led us into, then we'll discuss your future with the company." As David nodded, a mix of relief and determination settling over his features, Michael's phone buzzed with another text from Emily. "In position, waiting for your signal." Michael stood, gesturing for David to follow him. "Come on, there's someone I want you to meet." As they made their way through the building, Michael filled David in on his plan. They would gather evidence, build a case against Global Communications and the board members involved in the conspiracy. And at the center of it all was Emily, positioned to overhear crucial conversations and gather intel that would be impossible for Michael to access directly. When they reached the small conference room where Emily was waiting, Michael paused, his hand on the doorknob. "David, what you're about to learn, it's going to change everything. Are you ready for that?" David nodded, a flicker of the old loyalty shining in his eyes. "I'm ready, Michael, whatever it takes to make this right." As Michael opened the door, revealing Emily sitting at the conference table, he felt a surge of pride and anticipation. This was it, the moment when everything would change, when the fight to save Tech Vision would truly begin. "David," Michael said, his voice filled with a mixture of emotions, "I'd like you to meet Emily, my daughter." David's jaw dropped, his eyes darting between Michael and Emily in disbelief. "Your daughter? But how?" When Emily stood, extending her hand to David with a small smile. "It's a long story, Mr. Green, one that we don't have time for right now. What matters is that I'm here to help, and we have a lot of work to do." As the three of them settled around the conference table, Michael laid out the plan. Emily would continue her clinical rotations at the hospital, keeping an ear out for any conversations between board members or Global Communications representatives. David would work from the inside, feeding them information and helping to set up meetings where crucial information could be overheard. "This isn't going to be easy," Michael warned, his gaze moving between his daughter and his oldest friend. "What we're doing, it's dangerous. If Global or the compromised board members find out what we're up to, the consequences could be severe." Emily reached out, placing her hand over her father's. "We know the risks, Dad, but this is bigger than just Tech Vision now. It's about doing what's right, about protecting the innovations that could change the world." David nodded in agreement, his face set with determination. I made a terrible mistake, Michael. Let me help make it right." As they continued to discuss strategy, refining their plan and anticipating potential obstacles, Michael felt a sense of hope growing within him. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with corporate intrigue and personal revelations, but with Emily and David by his side, he felt ready to face whatever came next. The sun was setting by the time they finished, casting a warm glow through the conference room windows. As they stood to leave, Michael pulled Emily into a tight embrace. "Be careful," he whispered, the fear and pride of a newfound father evident in his voice. If anything feels off, if you sense any danger at all, you get out. Promise me." Emily nodded against his chest. "I promise, Dad. We're in this together now." As Emily left to prepare for her next hospital shift, Michael turned to David. "You understand what's at stake here, don't you? This isn't just about saving the company. It's about protecting my daughter, about giving us a chance at the relationship we've been denied for so long." David's eyes were filled with a mixture of regret and resolve. "I understand, Michael. I won't let you down again. We'll see this through, whatever it takes." As they parted ways, each heading off to play their part in the unfolding drama, Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mystery of Emily had been solved, but a new chapter was just beginning. With his daughter as his secret weapon and his old friend fighting to redeem himself, Michael Johnson was ready to take on the corporate world and anyone who dared to threaten what was his. The stage was set, the players in position. The next act in this high-stakes drama was about to begin, and Michael was determined to emerge victorious, not just for the sake of TechVision, but for the future he now dreamed of building with the daughter he had only just discovered. As he stepped out into the New York evening, Michael's mind was already racing with plans and contingencies. The corporate world had no idea what was coming. With the combined strength of father, daughter, and a friend seeking redemption, a force was about to be unleashed that would shake the very foundations of the business world. The game had changed, the stakes raised higher than ever before. But for the first time in years, Michael felt truly alive, truly purposeful. The battle to save TechVision and secure a future with Emily had begun, and Michael Johnson was ready to fight with everything he had. The bustling corridors of Mount Sinai Hospital echoed with the steady rhythm of footsteps and the soft beeping of medical equipment. Emily Parker moved through the organized chaos with practiced ease, her eyes sharp and alert despite the fatigue of a long shift. It had been 3 days since she'd agreed to help her newfound father, Michael Johnson, uncover the conspiracy threatening TechVision, and the weight of her secret mission pressed heavily upon her. As she approached the nurse's station, Emily overheard a snippet of conversation that made her pulse quicken. "Did you hear? Another TechVision board member was admitted last night. Stress-related, they're saying." Emily's mind raced. This could be the opportunity they'd been waiting for. She casually made her way to the computer, pulling up the patient roster under the guise of checking her assignments. There, halfway down the list, was a name that sent a jolt of recognition through her. Richard Tanner, one of the board members Michael had mentioned as being deeply involved in the global communications deal. With practiced nonchalance, Emily volunteered to take on Mr. Tanner's care for the shift. As she made her way to his private room, she steeled herself for the task ahead. The plan was simple: gather information, keep her ears open, and report back to Michael. But the reality of what she was doing, essentially spying on a patient, made her stomach churn with guilt and anxiety. Emily took a deep breath, centering herself as she'd been taught in nursing school. She visualized a calm, professional demeanor, letting it settle over her like a protective shield. With one last steadying breath, she pushed open the door to Richard Tanner's room. The man lying in the hospital bed looked nothing like the powerful executive Emily had imagined. Richard Tanner was pale and drawn, dark circles under his eyes betraying the stress that had landed him in the hospital. As Emily approached, his gaze flickered to her, a mix of wariness and resignation in his eyes. "Good morning, Mr. Tanner." Emily said, her voice warm and professional. I'm Emily, and I'll be taking care of you during this shift. How are you feeling? Richard's response was cut off by a fit of coughing. Emily quickly poured him a glass of water, supporting his back as he sipped slowly. Thank you, Richard said, his voice hoarse. I've been better, to be honest. This whole situation, it's taken more of a toll than I expected. Emily's ears perked up at his words, but she kept her expression neutral. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything specific that's been causing you stress? Sometimes talking about it can help. Richard let out a bitter laugh. Unless you can turn back time and undo a series of monumentally bad decisions, I'm not sure there's much that can help. Emily's heart raced. This was it, the opening she'd been waiting for. She perched on the edge of the visitor's chair, her body language open and inviting. Sometimes an outside perspective can be helpful. If you'd like to talk, I'm here to listen. For a moment, Richard seemed to consider her offer. Then, as if a dam had broken, words began to pour out of him. I've spent my entire career building something I believed in, he began, his voice heavy with regret. Tech Vision was more than just a company to me. It was a vision of the future, a chance to make the world better through innovation. And now I've thrown it all away for what? A bigger payday. The promise of more power. Emily listened intently, her mind working overtime to process the information while maintaining her compassionate facade. It sounds like you're carrying a heavy burden, Mr. Tanner. What exactly happened? Richard's eyes darted to the door as if checking for eavesdroppers. When he spoke again, his voice was low and urgent. We made a deal with the devil. That's what happened. Global communications. They promised us the world, a merger that would make us unstoppable, but it was all a lie. Emily leaned in, her voice gentle but probing. A lie? How so? They never intended to merge, Richard said, his words tumbling out in a rush. It was a takeover from the start. They've been positioning themselves to strip Tech Vision for parts, to absorb our innovations and eliminate us as a competitor, and I helped them do it. The gravity of Richard's confession hit Emily like a physical blow. This was exactly the kind of information her father needed. But as she looked at the broken man before her, she felt a surge of unexpected sympathy. Mr. Tanner, she said carefully, it sounds like you regret your involvement in this situation. Is there anything you can do to make it right? Richard's laugh was hollow. Make it right. I'm not sure that's possible. Michael Johnson, he trusted us. He built that company from nothing, and we betrayed him. Even if I wanted to come clean, it's too late. The wheels are already in motion. Emily's mind raced. This was her chance to push, to gather more concrete information, but she had to be careful not to reveal her true motives. It's never too late to do the right thing, she said, infusing her words with conviction. If you truly believe in what Tech Vision stands for, isn't it worth fighting for? Richard's eyes met hers, a flicker of hope battling with resignation. You don't understand. The people involved in this, they're powerful, dangerous. If I were to speak out, the consequences could be severe. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. She was walking a dangerous line, but she couldn't back down now. Sometimes doing the right thing requires courage, Mr. Tanner. And it sounds like you have a lot to fight for. Not just the company, but your own integrity. For a long moment, Richard was silent, his gaze fixed on the window overlooking the New York skyline. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to face the music, to try and salvage what's left of my conscience. He turned back to Emily, his eyes searching her face. You remind me of someone, you know. There's something in your eyes, a strength, a determination. It reminds me of Michael, actually. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Had she pushed too far, given away too much? She forced a small laugh, trying to deflect. I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Tanner. Now, why don't we focus on getting you feeling better? The first step to facing any challenge is making sure you're at your strongest. As Emily went through the motions of checking Richard's vitals and adjusting his medication, Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and plans. She had to get this information to her father as soon as possible. But more than that, she realized that Richard Tanner could be a powerful ally in their fight to save TechVision. The rest of her shift passed in a blur of routine tasks and stolen moments of reflection. As soon as she was off duty, Emily rushed to a quiet corner of the hospital, her fingers flying over her phone's keypad as she sent an encrypted message to Michael. Major breakthrough. Tanner admitted to hospital. Confessed involvement in global takeover plan. Seems remorseful. Potential ally? Need to meet ASAP. As she waited for a response, Emily leaned against the wall, suddenly overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she was involved in. She was no longer just Michael Johnson's long-lost daughter or a dedicated nurse. She was now a key player in a high-stakes corporate drama with the fate of a multi-billion-dollar company hanging in the balance. Her phone buzzed with Michael's reply, "Excellent work. Meet me at the safe house in 1 hour. We need to strategize our next move." As Emily gathered her things and prepared to leave the hospital, she caught sight of her reflection in a window. The woman staring back at her looked different somehow, stronger, more determined. She was no longer just Emily Parker, nursing student. She was Emily Johnson, daughter of a tech mogul, and she was ready to fight for her newfound family and the future they deserved. With one last glance at Richard Tanner's room, Emily stepped out into the New York evening, her mind already racing with plans and possibilities. The game had changed, and she was now a central player. As she hailed a taxi to take her to the safe house, Emily felt a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. The stage was set for the next act in this high-stakes drama, and Emily was determined to play her part to perfection. With her father's guidance and her own growing confidence, she knew that together they stood a chance of unraveling the conspiracy and saving TechVision from those who sought to destroy it. As the taxi wove through the busy streets, Emily's resolve hardened. She had spent years wondering about her father, imagining what it would be like to be part of his world. Now that she was here, in the thick of it all, she was determined not to let him down. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers they might face, Emily knew one thing for certain: she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next phase of their plan was about to begin, and Emily Johnson was ready to face it head-on, armed with the strength of her newfound family and the determination to right the wrongs that threatened to tear their world apart. The safe house was a nondescript brownstone in a quiet Brooklyn neighborhood, its exterior giving no hint of the high-stakes drama unfolding within. As Emily climbed the steps, her heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. She was about to dive deeper into a world of corporate intrigue that she had only glimpsed from the periphery until now. Michael opened the door before she could knock, ushering her inside with a quick glance up and down the street. The living room had been transformed into a makeshift command center, with laptops, documents, and whiteboards covering every available surface. "Emily," Michael said, pulling her into a quick hug. "Are you all right? Were you followed?" Emily shook her head, still somewhat overwhelmed by the cloak and dagger atmosphere. "No, I don't think so. I took a roundabout route like you suggested." David Green looked up from his laptop, offering Emily a tired smile. "Good work at the hospital. That information about Tanner could be the break we've been waiting for." As Emily settled onto the couch, Michael began to pace, his mind clearly racing with possibilities. "Okay, let's go over what we know. Emily, tell us everything Tanner said, every detail you can remember." Emily took a deep breath, centering herself as she recalled the conversation. As she spoke, she noticed Michael and David exchanging significant glances, their expressions growing more serious with each revelation. So Tanner confirmed that Global Communications never intended a true merger, Michael said when Emily finished. "They've been planning a hostile takeover from the start." David nodded grimly. "It fits with what we've uncovered about their recent acquisitions. They've been quietly buying up companies that complement TechVision's core technologies. If they succeed in this takeover, they'll be positioned to dominate the entire industry." Emily leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. There's something else. The way Tanner spoke about the people involved, he seemed genuinely afraid. He said they were powerful and dangerous. Michael's jaw clenched. That tracks with some intel I've received. There are whispers of a shadow group behind global communications, people with connections in high places. This goes beyond just corporate rivalry. The room fell silent as the weight of the situation settled over them. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the true scope of what they were up against. "So, what's our next move?" she asked, breaking the tense silence. Michael turned to the whiteboard, where a complex web of names and connections was mapped out. "We need more concrete evidence. Tanner's confession is a start, but it's not enough to bring to the authorities or the rest of the board. We need documents, recordings, something irrefutable." David spoke up, his voice tinged with determination. "I might be able to help with that. I still have access to most of the confidential files. If I'm careful, I might be able to download some incriminating documents without raising suspicion." Michael nodded approvingly. "Good, but be careful, David. If they catch wind of what we're doing—" "I know," David said solemnly. "I'll tread lightly." Emily felt a surge of protectiveness towards her father and this man who was clearly trying to redeem himself. "What about me? What can I do to help?" Michael turned to her, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "Your role is crucial, Emily. Tanner trusts you now. If you can get him to open up more, maybe even convince him to turn state's evidence, it could blow this whole thing wide open." Emily nodded, her mind already racing with ideas on how to approach Tanner. She thought back to her training in neuro-linguistic programming, considering how she could use those techniques to build deeper rapport and trust. "I'll do my best," she promised, "but we need to be careful. If Tanner realizes I'm not just a sympathetic ear, if he suspects I'm working with you—" "We'll protect you," Michael said firmly, "and your safety is my top priority in all of this." As they continued to strategize, Emily found herself marveling at the surreal turn her life had taken. Just weeks ago, she had been a nursing student, focused on exams and clinical rotations. Now, she was at the center of a corporate espionage plot, working alongside the father she'd only just met to save his company from a shadowy cabal of business titans. Hours passed as they pored over documents, cross-referenced information, and refined their plan. The sun was beginning to set when Michael finally called for a break. "We've made good progress," he said, rubbing his tired eyes, "but we need to be careful not to burn ourselves out. This is a marathon, not a sprint." As David packed up his laptop and prepared to leave, Emily found herself alone with Michael for the first time since arriving. She watched as her father stared out the window, his expression pensive. "Dad," she said softly, still marveling at how natural the word felt on her tongue. "Are you okay?" Michael turned to her, a small smile softening his features. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just processing everything. You know, in all my years in business, I never imagined I'd be in a situation like this. And I certainly never dreamed I'd be facing it with a daughter I didn't know I had." Emily moved to stand beside him, following his gaze out to the Brooklyn skyline. "Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? But I'm glad we're in this together." Michael wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "So am I, Emily. So am I. I wish I had known about you sooner." All those years we missed. Emily leaned into her father's embrace, feeling a lump form in her throat. "We can't change the past, Dad, but we're here now, and we're fighting for our future. That's what matters." As they stood there, father and daughter united against a common threat, Emily felt a sense of purpose and belonging she had never experienced before. The road ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but in that moment, she knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning found Emily back at Mount Sinai Hospital, her mind sharp despite the late night of strategizing. As she made her way to Richard Tanner's room, she ran through the techniques she had practiced, preparing herself to delve deeper into the conspiracy while maintaining her cover as a caring nurse. Tanner was awake when she entered, looking marginally better than he had the day before. Emily noted the dark circles under his eyes had faded slightly, and some color had returned to his cheeks. "Good morning, Mr. Tanner," she said cheerfully, infusing her voice with warmth and compassion. "How are you feeling today?" Tanner offered a weak smile. "A bit better, thanks to your care yesterday. I wanted to apologize for unloading all of that on you. It wasn't professional of me." Emily shook her head, moving to check his vitals. "There's no need to apologize. Sometimes we all need someone to talk to, especially when we're carrying heavy burdens." As she worked, Emily carefully steered the conversation back to the topics they had discussed the day before, using subtle prompts and open-ended questions to encourage Tanner to open up further. "You mentioned yesterday that you felt like you had betrayed Michael Johnson's trust," she said softly. "Have you considered reaching out to him, explaining the situation?" Tanner's expression darkened. "It's not that simple. The people involved in this, they have eyes and ears everywhere. If they even suspected I was thinking of coming clean." Emily leaned in, her voice low and earnest. "Mr. Tanner, I may just be a nurse, but I've seen enough in my time here to know that living with that kind of fear and guilt can be more damaging than any external threat. Sometimes, doing the right thing requires courage, but it also brings its own kind of peace." She watched as her words seemed to resonate with Tanner, his eyes flickering with a mix of fear and resolve. Emily pressed on, using the rapport-building techniques she had studied. "You struck me as someone who once believed in something bigger than yourself," she said, mirroring Tanner's body language to create a sense of connection. "The way you spoke about tech vision, about innovation and making the world better, that passion doesn't just disappear, it's still there, isn't it?" Tanner nodded slowly, his gaze distant. "It is. God help me, but it is. I've tried to justify my actions, to tell myself it was for the greater good, but deep down, I know I've lost my way." Emily saw her opening and took it. "It's never too late to find your way back, Mr. Tanner, to make things right, and you don't have to do it alone." For a long moment, Tanner was silent, his internal struggle evident on his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to face the music." He looked up at Emily, his eyes searching her face. "If I were to come forward, to tell Michael everything I know, do you think it would make a difference?" Emily's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm and encouraging. "I believe that the truth always makes a difference, Mr. Tanner. And from what you've told me about Michael Johnson, he seems like the kind of man who would value honesty and courage, even in the face of past mistakes." Tanner nodded, seeming to come to a decision. "All right, I'll do it. I'll reach out to Michael, tell him everything I know, but I'll need help. Protection. The people behind this, they won't take kindly to a whistleblower." Emily felt a surge of triumph, but she kept her voice steady. "That's a brave decision, Mr. Tanner. I'm sure there are proper channels for this kind of thing, legal protections for whistleblowers. Perhaps you could start by speaking to a lawyer you trust." As they continued to talk, Emily carefully guided Tanner towards the idea of documenting everything he knew, of gathering whatever evidence he could access. By the time she left his room, she felt confident that they had turned a crucial corner in their investigation. The moment she was alone, Emily sent an encrypted message to her father. "Tanner ready to talk. Wants to come clean to you directly. Suggests legal protection. Next move." As she waited for a response, Emily felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. They were making progress, but she knew that each step forward brought them closer to a confrontation with the powerful forces aligned against them. Her phone buzzed with Michael's reply. "Excellent work. Setting up secure meeting. Stay close to Tanner. Things may move quickly now." Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever came next. She had played her part well, using her skills and newfound knowledge to push their plan forward. Now, it was time to prepare for the next phase of their fight to save Tech Vision and expose the truth. As she continued her rounds, Emily felt a sense of purpose and determination unlike anything she had experienced before. She was no longer just a nurse or even just Michael Johnson's daughter. She was a key player in a high-stakes game of corporate intrigue, and she was ready to see it through to the end, whatever the cost. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, and Emily knew that the next few days would be crucial. With Tanner's cooperation, they might finally have the evidence they needed to bring down the conspiracy and save TechVision. But the road ahead was fraught with danger, and Emily knew that she and her father would need every ounce of courage and cunning they possessed to emerge victorious. As the day wore on, Emily found herself constantly alert, watching for any sign that their activities had been discovered. The weight of their secret mission pressed heavily upon her, but she drew strength from the knowledge that she was fighting alongside her father, working to right a wrong and protect the company he had built from nothing. The pieces were falling into place, and Emily Johnson was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next act in this high-stakes drama was about to unfold, and she was determined to play her part to perfection. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the sleek glass exterior of TechVision's headquarters as Michael Johnson strode through the lobby, his mind racing with plans and strategies. The events of the past few days had changed everything, and he was determined to use this newfound energy to unravel the conspiracy threatening his company. As he stepped into the elevator, Michael's phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Ready when you are. Let's do this." A small smile tugged at Michael's lips. The thought of working alongside his daughter, of finally having the chance to build a relationship with her, filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. The elevator doors opened to reveal David Green waiting in the hallway, his face a mask of concern and barely concealed anxiety. "Michael?" David greeted, falling into step beside him as they walked towards the CEO's office. "And we need to talk about the upcoming shareholders meeting. There are rumors circulating, and some of our major investors are getting nervous." Michael nodded, his expression giving nothing away. "I'm aware of the situation, David. In fact, I've been doing some investigating of my own. Why don't you join me in my office? There are a few things we need to discuss." As they entered the spacious corner office, Michael noticed David's eyes darting nervously around the room, as if searching for hidden threats. It was a subtle tell, one that Michael might have missed if he hadn't been looking for it. "Have a seat, David," Michael said, gesturing to the chairs in front of his desk. "We've known each other for a long time, haven't we?" David nodded, a flicker of confusion passing across his face. "Of course. We built this company together, Michael. You know, I've always had TechVision's best interests at heart." Michael leaned back in his chair, studying his old friend's face. "That's what I thought too. Which is why I'm having a hard time reconciling that with what I've discovered about your recent activities." David's face paled slightly, but he maintained his composure. "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Michael. If this is about the restructuring plans we discussed, I assure you, this isn't about restructuring." Michael cut him off, his voice sharp. "This is about secret meetings with global communications. This is about plans to sell out TechVision, to strip it for parts, and hand over our innovations to our biggest competitor." David's facade crumbled, his eyes widening in shock. Who told you about that?" Michael's gaze was steely as he replied. "It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that I do know, David. I know everything. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" For a moment, David looked like he might try to deny it, to concoct some explanation or excuse. But then his shoulders sagged, the weight of his actions finally settling upon him. "I never meant for it to go this far," David said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When you had that heart attack, everything was thrown into chaos. Global approached us with an offer that seemed too good to pass up. I thought I was protecting the company, ensuring its survival if you didn't recover." Michael's jaw clenched, anger and disappointment warring within him. "And when I did recover, when it became clear that TechVision wasn't in danger, why continue with this plan, David?" David ran a hand through his hair, his face a mask of regret. It spiraled out of control. Global kept sweetening the deal, promising more and more. Before I knew it, I was in too deep to back out. As David continued to explain, laying bare the extent of his involvement in the conspiracy, Michael's mind raced. He thought of Emily, waiting to play her part in uncovering the truth. He thought of the years of friendship and trust that had been shattered in a matter of days. "Here's what's going to happen," Michael said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You're going to tell me everything. Every meeting, every deal, every person involved, and then you're going to help me put a stop to it." David's head snapped up, surprise evident on his face. You're not firing me." Michael's expression was grim. "Don't mistake this for forgiveness, David. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life to fix this mess. And when it's over, when we've saved Tech Vision from the disaster you nearly led us into, then we'll discuss your future with the company." As David nodded, a mix of relief and determination settling over his features, Michael's phone buzzed with another text from Emily. "In position, waiting for your signal." Michael stood, gesturing for David to follow him. "Come on, there's someone I want you to meet." As they made their way through the building, Michael filled David in on his plan. They would gather evidence, build a case against Global Communications and the board members involved in the conspiracy. And at the center of it all was Emily, positioned to overhear crucial conversations and gather intel that would be impossible for Michael to access directly. When they reached the small conference room where Emily was waiting, Michael paused, his hand on the doorknob. "David, what you're about to learn, it's going to change everything. Are you ready for that?" David nodded, a flicker of the old loyalty shining in his eyes. "I'm ready, Michael, whatever it takes to make this right." As Michael opened the door, revealing Emily sitting at the conference table, he felt a surge of pride and anticipation. This was it. The moment when everything would change, when the fight to save Tech Vision would truly begin. "David," Michael said, his voice filled with a mixture of emotions, "I'd like you to meet Emily, my daughter." David's jaw dropped, his eyes darting between Michael and Emily in disbelief. "Your daughter? But how?" When Emily stood, extending her hand to David with a small smile. "It's a long story, Mr. Green, one that we don't have time for right now. What matters is that I'm here to help, and we have a lot of work to do." As the three of them settled around the conference table, Michael laid out the plan. Emily would continue her clinical rotations at the hospital, keeping an ear out for any conversations between board members or Global Communications representatives. David would work from the inside, feeding them information and helping to set up meetings where crucial information could be overheard. "This isn't going to be easy," Michael warned, his gaze moving between his daughter and his oldest friend. "What we're doing, it's dangerous. If Global or the compromised board members find out what we're up to, the consequences could be severe." Emily reached out, placing her hand over her father's. "We know the risks, Dad, but this is bigger than just Tech Vision now. It's about doing what's right, about protecting the innovations that could change the world." David nodded in agreement, his face set with determination. "I made a terrible mistake, Michael. Let me help make it right." As they continued to discuss strategy, refining their plan and anticipating potential obstacles, Michael felt a sense of hope growing within him. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with corporate intrigue and personal revelations, but with Emily and David by his side, he felt ready to face whatever came next. The sun was setting by the time they finished, casting a warm glow through the conference room windows. As they stood to leave, Michael pulled Emily into a tight embrace. "Be careful," he whispered, the fear and pride of a newfound father evident in his voice. If anything feels off, if you sense any danger at all, you get out. Promise me." Emily nodded against his chest. "I promise, Dad. We're in this together now." As Emily left to prepare for her next hospital shift, Michael turned to David. "You understand what's at stake here, don't you? This isn't just about saving the company. It's about protecting my daughter, about giving us a chance at the relationship we've been denied for so long. David's eyes were filled with a mixture of regret and resolve. I understand, Michael. I won't let you down again. We'll see this through, whatever it takes. As they parted ways, each heading off to play their part in the unfolding drama, Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mystery of Emily had been solved, but a new chapter was just beginning. With his daughter as his secret weapon and his old friend fighting to redeem himself, Michael Johnson was ready to take on the corporate world and anyone who dared to threaten what was his. The stage was set, the players in position. The next act in this high-stakes drama was about to begin, and Michael was determined to emerge victorious, not just for the sake of TechVision, but for the future he now dreamed of building with the daughter he had only just discovered. As he stepped out into the New York evening, Michael's mind was already racing with plans and contingencies. The corporate world had no idea what was coming. With the combined strength of father, daughter, and a friend seeking redemption, a force was about to be unleashed that would shake the very foundations of the business world. The game had changed, the stakes raised higher than ever before. But for the first time in years, Michael felt truly alive, truly purposeful. The battle to save TechVision and secure a future with Emily had begun, and Michael Johnson was ready to fight with everything he had. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the polished floors of TechVision's headquarters as Emily Parker made her way through the lobby. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Today was the day she would put their plan into action, infiltrating the very heart of the conspiracy that threatened her father's company. As she approached the reception desk, Emily took a deep breath, centering herself. She had rehearsed this moment countless times with Michael and David, but the reality of it still sent a shiver down her spine. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady and confident. "I'm here to see Mr. Johnson. I have an appointment." The receptionist, a young woman with a friendly smile, checked her computer. "Of course, Miss Parker. Mr. Johnson is expecting you. Please take the elevator to the 50th floor. His assistant will meet you there." Emily nodded her thanks, trying to calm the butterflies in her stomach as she stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirrored walls. The smart business suit and carefully styled hair made her look older, more sophisticated. For a moment, she barely recognized herself. The elevator chimed, and Emily stepped out onto the executive floor. Sarah, Michael's assistant, was waiting for her with a warm smile. "Ms. Parker, welcome to TechVision," Sarah greeted, extending her hand. "Mr. Johnson is just finishing up a call. Please, follow me." As they walked through the bustling office, Emily's eyes darted around, taking in every detail. She recognized several faces from the dossiers Michael had shown her, board members and executives, some of whom were unwittingly complicit in the plot against TechVision. Sarah led her to a small conference room, gesturing for her to take a seat. "Mr. Johnson will be with you shortly. Can I get you anything while you wait? Coffee? Water?" Emily shook her head, offering a polite smile. "No, thank you. I'm fine." As soon as Sarah left, Emily's demeanor changed. She moved quickly to the computer terminal in the corner of the room, pulling a small USB drive from her purse. With practiced ease, she inserted the drive and began the process of copying files, financial records, emails, anything that might provide evidence of the conspiracy. Her heart pounded in her chest as she worked, acutely aware that discovery would mean not only the failure of their plan, but potentially serious legal consequences. But Emily pushed the fear aside, focusing on the task at hand. Just as the file transfer completed, Emily heard footsteps approaching. She quickly removed the USB drive, tucking it safely away in her purse, and returned to her seat. Seconds later, the door opened and Michael strode in. "Miss Parker," he said loudly, for the benefit of anyone who might be listening, "thank you for coming in today. I hope you didn't have any trouble finding us." Emily stood, shaking Michael's hand firmly. Not at all, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. As Michael closed the door, his expression softened. He pulled Emily into a quick, tight hug. "Are you okay?" he whispered. "Did you get what we needed?" Emily nodded, her voice low. "I think so. But Dad, there's something else. On my way up, I overheard two men talking about a meeting tonight. Something big is going down." Michael's brow furrowed. "Did you recognize them?" "One of them was Richard Tanner," Emily replied. "The other, I'm not sure, but from the way they were talking, he seemed to be from Global Communications." Michael's jaw clenched. This could be it. The final piece we need to bring everything crashing down. For the next hour, Michael and Emily went through the motions of a job interview, loudly discussing a fictional position for anyone who might be eavesdropping. But in hushed tones and subtle gestures, they planned their next move. As Emily prepared to leave, Michael spoke up for the benefit of any listeners. "Well, Ms. Parker, your qualifications are certainly impressive. We'll be in touch soon about the position." Emily nodded, shaking Michael's hand once more. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Johnson. I'd look forward to hearing from you." As she made her way back through the office, Emily felt the weight of the USB drive in her purse, heavy with the potential to change everything. But she knew their work was far from over. That evening, Emily found herself back at TechVision headquarters, this time dressed in the nondescript uniform of the cleaning staff. Her heart raced as she pushed her cart down the empty hallways, making her way towards the executive conference room where the clandestine meeting was set to take place. As she approached, she could hear muffled voices from behind the closed door. Emily positioned herself nearby, pretending to clean as she strained to listen. "The shareholders' meeting is in 3 days," she heard Richard Tanner say. "Whoa, if we're going to make our move, it has to be then." A voice Emily didn't recognize responded, its tone cold and calculating. "Everything is in place. By this time next week, TechVision will be nothing more than a subsidiary of Global Communications, and Michael Johnson will be out on the street where he belongs." Emily's blood ran cold at the callous way they discussed destroying her father's life's work. She leaned in closer, desperate to catch every word. "And what about the other board members?" Tanner asked, his voice tinged with nervousness. "Some of them are still loyal to Michael." The unknown voice chuckled darkly. "Leave that to me. By the time I'm done, they'll be begging to sign over their shares. And if any of them prove problematic, well, I have ways of dealing with that too." Emily's hands shook as she realized the full extent of what they were up against. This wasn't just a corporate takeover. These people were willing to go to any lengths to get what they wanted. Just then, the door to the conference room began to open. Emily's heart leapt into her throat as she quickly busied herself with her cleaning cart, keeping her head down. Richard Tanner emerged, followed by a tall, imposing man Emily didn't recognize. As they walked past her, she caught a glimpse of the stranger's face, sharp features, cold eyes, and a cruel twist to his lips that sent a shiver down her spine. "Remember, Tanner," the man said as they moved down the hallway, "there's no turning back now. You're in this to the end, one way or another." As their footsteps faded, Emily let out a shaky breath. She had to get this information to Michael immediately. The stakes had just been raised even higher, and time was running out. With trembling hands, Emily pulled out her phone and sent an encrypted message to her father. "Meeting overheard. Global's plan in motion. Shareholders. Meeting is the target. Serious threats made. We need to act fast." As she waited for a response, Emily's mind raced with the implications of what she'd heard. The conspiracy was even more far-reaching and dangerous than they had initially thought. And now, with only 3 days until the shareholders' meeting, they were in a race against time to save TechVision and protect her father. Emily's phone buzzed with Michael's reply, "Get out of there now. Meet at the safe house in 1 hour. Be careful." As she made her way out of the building, Emily's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and determination. She had always dreamed of having a relationship with her father, but she never imagined it would involve corporate espionage and life-threatening situations. Yet, as she stepped out into the cool night air, Emily felt a surge of resolve. This was her family now, and she would do whatever it took to protect it. The next 3 days would determine not just the fate of TechVision, but the future of her newfound relationship with Michael. As she hailed a taxi, Emily steeled herself for the challenges ahead. The final act in this high-stakes drama was about to unfold, and she was determined to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. The taxi wove through the late-night traffic of New York City, and Emily found herself staring out at the glittering skyline. Somewhere out there, powerful forces were aligning against her father and everything he had built. But they had underestimated the strength of the bond between a father and the daughter he had only just discovered. Emily's hand instinctively went to her purse, feeling the outline of the USB drive that held crucial evidence. They had the information, they had the determination, and now they had a deadline. The next 3 days would be a whirlwind of planning, preparation, and calculated risks. As the taxi pulled up to the safe house, Emily took a deep breath, centering herself. She was no longer just Emily Parker, nursing student. She was Emily Johnson, daughter of Michael Johnson, and she was ready to fight for her family and their future. With renewed purpose, Emily stepped out of the taxi and made her way to the safe house. The final battle was about to begin, and she was prepared to face it head-on, armed with the strength of her newfound family and the determination to right the wrongs that threatened to tear their world apart. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the clock was ticking. Emily Johnson was ready to play her part in the most important fight of her life, knowing that the fate of TechVision and her relationship with her father hung in the balance. The bustling atrium of TechVision's headquarters was abuzz with anticipation as journalists, industry analysts, and curious onlookers gathered for the hastily called press conference. Rumors had been swirling for days about a major announcement from the tech giant IT, and the air was thick with speculation. Michael Johnson stood behind the curtain, his heart racing as he reviewed his notes one last time. The past 72 hours had been a whirlwind of activity, a desperate race against time to gather evidence, strategize, and prepare for this moment. He glanced to his left, where Emily stood, her face a mask of determination. "Are you ready for this?" Michael asked softly, reaching out to squeeze his daughter's hand. Emily nodded, her eyes shining with a mixture of nervousness and resolve. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Let's do this, Dad." On Michael's other side, David Green shifted uncomfortably. The weight of his past actions and the role he was about to play in exposing the conspiracy weighed heavily upon him. "Michael," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "are you sure about this? Once we go public, there's no turning back." Michael's jaw set in a firm line as he turned to face his old friend. "We're sure, David. It's time to bring everything into the light." "Are you with us?" David took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "I'm with you, all the way." As the clock struck 10 a.m., Sarah, Michael's assistant, stepped out onto the stage to introduce him. The murmur of the crowd died down as anticipation built. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO and founder of TechVision, Mr. Michael Johnson." Michael strode onto the stage, his presence commanding immediate attention. As he approached the podium, he could feel the weight of countless eyes upon him. Cameras flashed, and the soft whir of video equipment filled the air. "Good morning," Michael began, his voice steady and clear. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I've called this press conference to address some serious issues that have come to light regarding TechVision and its future." He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. The room was silent, every person hanging on his next words. "For the past several weeks, I have been investigating a conspiracy within TechVision, a plot to sell out our company, to hand over our innovations and our future to our biggest competitor, Global Communications." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by a flurry of whispers and the furious scribbling of reporters' pens. Michael held up a hand, calling for silence. I know these are serious allegations, but I stand before you today with irrefutable evidence of this conspiracy. Evidence that implicates not only members of TechVision's board, but also high-ranking executives at Global Communications. He gestured to the large screen behind him, where a series of emails, financial records, and transcribed conversations began to appear. What you're seeing now is just a small sample of the evidence we've uncovered. It details secret meetings, undisclosed financial transactions, and plans to manipulate TechVision's stock price to facilitate a hostile takeover. As Michael continued to lay out the evidence, the room erupted into a frenzy of questions and exclamations. Reporters shouted for clarification, while industry analysts furiously tapped away at their tablets, trying to process the bombshell revelations. "Mr. Johnson," a voice called out from the crowd. "Okay, are you saying that members of your own board were involved in this conspiracy?" Michael nodded grimly. "Yes, I am. And I want to be clear, this goes beyond just corporate maneuvering. The individuals involved were willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve their goals, including threats and intimidation." Another reporter stood up. "What about Global Communications? How deep does their involvement go?" "Our investigation has revealed that this conspiracy reaches the highest levels of Global's leadership," Michael replied. "We have evidence of their CEO, Jonathan Ryder, personally orchestrating key aspects of this takeover attempt." As Michael continued to field questions, Emily watched from the wings, her heart swelling with pride. This was the moment they had been working towards, the culmination of their efforts to save TechVision and expose the truth. Suddenly, a commotion at the back of the room caught Emily's attention. She saw Richard Tanner pushing his way through the crowd, his face a mask of panic and anger. "Johnson!" Tanner shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "You have no idea what you're doing. You're going to destroy everything." Security guards moved to intercept Tanner, but Michael held up a hand, stopping them. "Let him speak," he said, his voice calm but firm. As Tanner reached the front of the room, Michael addressed him directly. "Mr. Tanner, would you like to add anything to what I've presented here today? Perhaps you'd like to explain your role in this conspiracy." Tanner's face paled as he realized the extent of Michael's knowledge. For a moment, he looked like he might try to deny everything, but then something in him seemed to break. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," Tanner said, his voice cracking. "We thought we were doing what was best for the company, but it spiraled out of control. Ryder, he has connections, powerful people backing him. He made it clear that if we didn't cooperate, there would be consequences." A hush fell over the room as Tanner's impromptu confession unfolded. Reporters leaned in, hanging on every word, while cameras continued to flash, capturing the dramatic moment. Michael's expression softened slightly as he addressed Tanner. "Thank you for your honesty, Richard. It's not too late to make this right. Will you be willing to provide a full statement to the authorities?" Tanner nodded, his shoulders sagging with what looked like relief. Yes, I'll tell them everything." As security escorted Tanner from the room, Michael turned back to the assembled press. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you've witnessed here today is just the beginning. TechVision is committed to full transparency as we work to root out this corruption and rebuild the trust of our shareholders, our employees, and the public." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room. "But I want to be clear, TechVision is not just a company. It's a vision for the future, a commitment to innovation that can change the world for the better. We will not let the actions of a few corrupt individuals destroy that vision." As Michael continued to speak, outlining TechVision's plans for the future and their commitment to ethical business practices, Emily felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see David, his face pale but determined. "It's time," he said softly. Emily nodded, taking a deep breath to steady herself. This was the moment they had prepared for, the final piece of their plan to expose the full extent of the conspiracy. As Michael wrapped up his statement, he gestured towards the side of the stage. "Before we open the floor for questions, There's someone else you need to hear from, someone who has been instrumental in uncovering this conspiracy and bringing the truth to light." Emily stepped out onto the stage, her heart pounding but her steps steady. As she approached the podium, she could feel the curious gazes of the assembled press, wondering who this young woman was and what role she had played in the unfolding drama. Michael placed a hand on Emily's shoulder, a gesture of support and pride. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Emily Johnson, my daughter." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by an explosion of questions and exclamations. Emily raised her hands, calling for silence, her voice steady as she began to speak. "Good morning, my name is Emily Johnson, and until a few weeks ago, I was just a nursing student with no connection to tech vision or the corporate world. But a chance encounter at the hospital where I work led me to uncover a plot that threatened not just this company, but the very ideals of innovation and progress that it stands for." As Emily recounted her role in the investigation, detailing the risks she had taken and the evidence she had gathered, the room hung on her every word. She spoke of overheard conversations, of clandestine meetings in hospital rooms, of the moment she realized the true extent of the danger they were facing. "I stand before you today, not just as Michael Johnson's daughter, but as someone who believes in the power of truth and the importance of doing what's right, no matter the cost," Emily concluded, her voice ringing with conviction. As the press conference continued, with Michael and Emily fielding questions and providing further details, the story of TechVision's fight against corruption began to take shape. Reporters furiously typed on their laptops, while news anchors delivered breathless updates to their networks. By the time the press conference concluded, it was clear that the landscape of the tech industry had been irrevocably changed. The hashtag #TechVisionExposed was trending worldwide, and social media was ablaze with discussions about corporate ethics and the power of whistleblowers. As Michael and Emily made their way off the stage, they were met by David, who had been watching from the wings. "You did it," David said, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and relief. "You actually pulled it off," Michael nodded, pulling both Emily and David into a tight embrace. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us together." As they stood there, surrounded by the chaos of the aftermath, Emily felt a sense of closure washing over her. The journey that had begun with a mysterious warning in a hospital room had led her here, to a place she never could have imagined. But as they broke apart, all three aware that their work was far from over, Emily caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. The man she had seen with Tanner, the one with the cold eyes and cruel smile. He was watching them intently, his expression unreadable. A chill ran down Emily's spine as she realized that while they had won this battle, the war was far from over. The forces aligned against them were powerful and far-reaching, and they would not take this defeat lying down. As if sensing her unease, Michael squeezed Emily's hand. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Emily nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, Dad. Just processing everything." As they made their way through the crowd, fielding congratulations and dodging further questions from persistent reporters, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something even bigger than they had imagined. The truth had been exposed, but at what cost? And what challenges still lay ahead for the newly united Johnson family and the company they had fought so hard to protect? As they stepped out into the bright New York sunlight, Emily knew one thing for certain: whatever came next, they would face it together. The bond between father and daughter, forged in the crucible of this conspiracy, was stronger than any corporate machination or shadowy threat. The next chapter of their story was about to begin, and Emily Johnson was ready to face it head-on, armed with the truth, the love of her newfound family, and the determination to see justice done, no matter the cost. The aftermath of the press conference was a whirlwind of activity that swept through TechVision like a tsunami. The once bustling halls of the corporate headquarters now buzzed with a different kind of energy, a mixture of shock, confusion, and for some, a palpable sense of fear. Michael Johnson stood in his office, gazing out at the New York skyline as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the city. The events of the past few hours played on a loop in his mind, each revelation and confrontation etched into his memory with crystal clarity. A soft knock at the door broke his reverie. "Come in," he called, turning to see Emily enter, her face a mixture of exhaustion and determination. "Dad," she said, closing the door behind her. "Have you seen the news? It's everywhere." Michael nodded, gesturing for Emily to join him by the window. "I've seen it. The story's blown up even faster than we anticipated." As they stood side by side, looking out at the city they had just shaken to its core, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of surreal detachment. Just weeks ago, she had been a nursing student with no connection to this world of high-stakes corporate intrigue. Now, her face was splashed across news channels worldwide, hailed as the whistleblower who had exposed one of the biggest corporate scandals in recent memory. "Are you okay?" Michael asked softly, placing a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "I know this isn't what you signed up for when you decided to warn me about the board meeting." Emily turned to her father, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Honestly, I'm not sure. It's all happening so fast, but I don't regret it, not for a second. We did the right thing, Dad." Michael's eyes shone with pride as he pulled Emily into a tight embrace. "We did, sweetheart, and I couldn't have done it without you." Their moment of quiet reflection was interrupted by another knock, more urgent this time. David Green burst in, his face pale and his eyes wide with barely contained panic. "Michael, Emily," he gasped, "you need to see this." He grabbed the remote control from Michael's desk, turning on the large flat-screen TV mounted on the wall. The screen flickered to life, revealing a live news broadcast. "Breaking news," the anchor was saying, her voice tight with tension. "We're receiving reports of a fire at the New York offices of Global Communications. Witnesses describe a series of explosions." The three of them watched in stunned silence as the camera panned to show thick plumes of smoke billowing from the upper floors of a sleek skyscraper. Fire engines wailed in the background as firefighters battled the blaze. "Oh my God," Emily whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "Do you think this is connected to our press conference?" Michael's jaw clenched, his eyes never leaving the screen. "It's too much of a coincidence not to be. David, get me everything you can on this. I want to know who was in that building, what floors were affected, everything." As David rushed out to gather information, Michael turned to Emily, his expression grave. "This is escalating faster than we anticipated. Whoever is behind this conspiracy, they're not going to go down without a fight." Emily nodded, her mind racing. "What's our next move?" Before Michael could respond, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID made his blood run cold. Jonathan Ryder, CEO of Global Communications. Michael hesitated for a moment before answering, putting the call on speaker. "Ryder," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "You've really done it now, Johnson." Ryder's voice crackled through the speaker, a mix of anger and something that sounded almost like admiration. "I have to hand it to you. I didn't think you had it in you." "What are you talking about, Ryder?" Michael demanded. "If this is about the press conference." "The press conference?" Ryder cut him off with a harsh laugh. "That's old news, Johnson. I'm talking about the little pyrotechnics display at my office. Didn't think you'd resort to such extreme measures." Michael's eyes widened in shock. "Are you suggesting that we had something to do with that fire? That's insane, Ryder. We're not terrorists." "Save it," Ryder snapped. "You've declared war, Johnson. And trust me, you have no idea what you're up against. This is bigger than you, bigger than Tech Vision, bigger than anything you can imagine. You should have taken the deal when you had the chance." The line went dead, leaving Michael and Emily staring at each other in stunned silence. "Dad," Emily said, her voice shaking slightly. "What did he mean by bigger than anything you can imagine? What have we stumbled into?" Michael shook his head, his mind reeling. "I don't know, sweetheart. but I have a feeling we're about to find out." As if on cue, David burst back into the office, his face ashen. "Michael, Emily, you need to see this. Now." He handed Michael a tablet, open to an encrypted message board that they had been monitoring as part of their investigation. Michael's eyes scanned the screen, his expression growing darker with each passing second. "What is it?" Emily asked, peering over her father's shoulder. Michael's voice was grim as he read aloud. "Project Phoenix is compromised. Initiate Protocol Omega. All assets to go dark immediately. The Syndicate will not be defeated." Emily's brow furrowed in confusion. "The Syndicate? What does that mean?" Michael set the tablet down, his mind racing. "I'm not sure, but I think we've just scratched the surface of something much bigger than a simple corporate takeover. This conspiracy, it goes deeper than we ever imagined." As the gravity of the situation settled over them, the office was suddenly plunged into darkness. The hum of electronics died away, leaving them in eerie silence. "What the?" David started, but Michael cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Nobody move," he whispered urgently. "This isn't a simple power outage. We're under attack." Emily's heart raced as she strained her eyes to adjust to the darkness. She could hear muffled shouts and the sound of running feet from the hallway outside. Michael moved swiftly, grabbing Emily's hand and pulling her towards a hidden panel in the wall. "There's a secure elevator behind this panel," he explained in hushed tones. "It leads to a safe room in the basement. We need to get there now." As Michael worked to open the hidden door, Emily turned to David. "Come on," she urged, reaching out to him. But David shook his head, his eyes wide with fear and resolve. "No, I'll stay here. Buy you some time. It's the least I can do after everything." Before Emily could protest, the office door burst open. Shadowy figures poured in, their faces obscured by masks. "Go!" David shouted, throwing himself at the intruders. Michael pulled Emily into the hidden elevator just as chaos erupted in the office. The last thing Emily saw before the panel slid shut was David grappling with one of the masked men, his face a mask of determination and redemption. As the elevator descended rapidly, Emily clung to her father, her mind reeling from the sudden turn of events. "Dad," she whispered, her voice shaking, "what's happening? Who are those people?" Michael's jaw was set in a grim line as he replied, "I don't know, sweetheart, but I have a feeling we're about to find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes." The elevator came to a stop, and the doors slid open to reveal a state-of-the-art safe room. As they stepped inside, the heavy doors sealed behind them with a resounding thud. Michael moved quickly to a bank of computers, his fingers flying over the keyboards as he brought systems online. Screens flickered to life, showing security camera feeds from throughout the building. Emily gasped as she saw the chaos unfolding on the executive floor. Masked intruders were methodically searching offices, while Tech Vision employees huddled in fear or tried to fight back. "We need to do something," Emily said urgently. "We can't just hide down here while our people are in danger." Michael nodded, his expression grave. "You're right, but we need to be smart about this. We're dealing with forces we don't fully understand yet." As they watched the screens, trying to piece together what was happening, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger and more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. The press conference had exposed a corporate conspiracy, but it had also stirred up a hornet's nest of shadowy organizations and hidden agendas. As father and daughter stood side by side in the secure bunker, they knew that the real fight was just beginning. The world above them was in chaos, a storm of violence and secrets unleashed by their actions. But in that moment, Emily felt a surge of determination. They had started this, and they would see it through to the end, no matter the cost. As Michael worked frantically at the computers, coordinating with security and trying to regain control of the situation, Emily's mind raced with possibilities. Who were these intruders? What was the syndicate? And how deep did this conspiracy really go? One thing was certain: their lives would never be the same again. The journey that had begun with a simple warning in a hospital room had led them to this moment, standing on the precipice of a mystery that threatened to shake the foundations of the corporate world and beyond. As alarms blared and the screens showed more masked figures pouring into the building, Emily steeled herself for whatever came next. She had found her father, uncovered a massive conspiracy, and helped expose the truth to the world. Now, it was time to face the consequences of their actions and unravel the deeper mystery that lay at the heart of it all. The next chapter of their story was about to unfold, and Emily Johnson was ready to face it head-on, armed with the love of her newfound family, the strength of her convictions, and the determination to see justice done, no matter the cost. The soft hum of computers and the rhythmic beeping of security systems filled the air of the underground safe room as Michael Johnson and his daughter Emily huddled around a bank of monitors. The screens displayed a chaotic scene unfolding in the Tech Vision headquarters above them, masked intruders methodically sweeping through offices while terrified employees cowered or fought back in vain. "Dad, we have to do something," Emily urged, her voice tight with tension. We can't just stay down here while our people are in danger." Michael nodded grimly, his fingers flying over a keyboard as he attempted to regain control of the building's security systems. "You're right, sweetheart, but we need to be smart about this. We're dealing with forces we don't fully understand yet." As if in response to his words, one of the screens flickered to life, revealing a face that sent a chill down Emily's spine. It was the man she had seen with Richard Tanner, the one with the cold eyes and cruel smile. Now he stared directly into the camera, his expression a mixture of triumph and disdain. "Mr. Johnson," the man's voice crackled through the speakers. "I believe it's time we had a chat." Michael's jaw clenched as he leaned towards the microphone. "Who are you? What do you want?" The man's laugh was devoid of humor. "Who I am is not important. What matters is what I represent. You've stumbled into something far bigger than you can imagine, Mr. Johnson. The syndicate does not take kindly to interference." Emily's mind raced as she processed the implications of his words. The syndicate, the same organization mentioned in the encrypted message they had intercepted earlier. This was no mere corporate takeover. They were dealing with something far more sinister. What is the syndicate?" Michael demanded, his voice steady despite the tension evident in his posture. "And what does it have to do with Tech Vision?" The man on the screen smirked. "The syndicate is the future, Mr. Johnson. We are the architects of a new world order, one where the lines between corporation and government, between nation and global entity, are blurred beyond recognition. Tech Vision's innovations are merely a piece of a much larger puzzle." Emily felt a surge of anger rising within her. So all of this, the attempted takeover, the threats, the violence, it's all for some twisted vision of the future. The man's gaze shifted to Emily, his eyes narrowing. "Ah, the prodigal daughter. You've proven to be quite the wild card in our carefully laid plans. I must admit, we underestimated you." Michael instinctively moved to shield Emily from the camera's view. "Leave her out of this. Your quarrel is with me and Tech Vision." "On the contrary," the man replied, his voice taking on a dangerous edge. "Ms. Johnson has made herself a central player in this game, and now you both have a choice to make." The screen split, revealing multiple camera feeds from throughout the building. Emily gasped as she recognized familiar faces. Sarah, Michael's assistant, Jack, the private investigator who had helped uncover the truth about Emily's past, and most shockingly, David Green, looking battered but defiant as he was held at gunpoint. "You have 1 hour to surrender yourselves," the man continued. "Come up to your office, Mr. Johnson, and we can discuss the terms of Tech Vision's integration into the syndicate's operations. Refuse and, well," he gestured to the hostages on the screen, "I think you understand the consequences." The feed cut out abruptly, leaving Michael and Emily staring at their own reflections in the darkened monitor. "Dad!" Emily said softly, her mind reeling from the revelations. "What are we going to do?" Michael turned to his daughter, his expression a mixture of determination and fear. "We're going to fight, sweetheart, but we're going to do it smart." Over the next 45 minutes, Michael and Emily formulated a plan. They pored over building schematics, security protocols, and every scrap of information they had gathered about the conspiracy. As the deadline approached, they prepared to leave the safety of the bunker and confront the forces that threatened everything they held dear. "Remember," Michael said as they stood before the elevator that would take them back up to the chaos above, "stick to the plan. No matter what happens, we're in this together." Emily nodded, her heart racing but her resolve firm. "Together," she echoed. As the elevator ascended, Emily thought back to the moment in the hospital when she had first decided to warn her father about the impending danger. She could never have imagined the journey that decision would set in motion. A journey that had led her to discover her true heritage, to uncover a vast conspiracy, and now to face off against a shadowy organization with global ambitions. The elevator doors slid open, revealing the eerily quiet executive floor of Tech Vision. Michael and Emily stepped out cautiously, their senses on high alert as they made their way towards Michael's office. As they approached, the door swung open, revealing the man from the video feed. In person, he was even more imposing, tall and well-built, with an aura of cold authority that seemed to fill the room. "Mr. Johnson, Ms. Johnson," he greeted them, his voice smooth as silk. "How good of you to join us. Please, come in." They entered the office to find it transformed into a makeshift command center. Armed guards stood at attention, while banks of computers displayed data streams and surveillance feeds. In the corner, David, Sarah, and Jack were being held under close watch. "And now then," the man said, settling into Michael's chair behind the desk, "let's discuss the future of Tech Vision, shall we?" Michael stepped forward, his voice steady as he replied, "Before we discuss anything, I want assurances that my people will be safe." The man waved a hand dismissively. Of course, we're not barbarians, Mr. Johnson. Once we've come to an agreement, your employees will be free to go, provided they understand the need for discretion, of course." Emily watched the exchange, her mind racing as she tried to spot an opening, any weakness they could exploit. As her gaze swept the room, she noticed something odd about one of the computer screens, a flickering pattern that seemed out of place amidst the data streams. Suddenly, it clicked. The code they had embedded in Tech Vision's systems, a fail-safe they had put in place during their frantic planning in the bunker. It was active, waiting for the right moment to be triggered. Emily caught her father's eye, giving an almost imperceptible nod. Michael's expression didn't change, but she saw the slight tension in his shoulders ease. He had seen it too. "You speak of the future," Michael said, turning back to the man behind the desk. "But what you're proposing is nothing more than tyranny dressed up in corporate clothing. The Syndicate, for all its grand ambitions, is just another group of power-hungry individuals trying to reshape the world in their image." The man's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You underestimate us, Mr. Johnson. The Syndicate has been shaping world events for decades. Wars, economic collapses, technological revolutions, all carefully orchestrated to bring us to this point. Tech Vision is merely the latest piece in a much larger puzzle." As he spoke, Emily edged closer to one of the computer terminals, her movements slow and deliberate to avoid drawing attention. She could feel the weight of the small device in her pocket, the key to activating their failsafe. "And what makes you think we'd ever agree to be part of your puzzle?" Michael demanded, his voice rising with genuine anger. "Oh, Tech Vision was built on principles of innovation and ethical progress. We won't be party to your schemes." The man's laugh was cold and mirthless. "Principles, ethics, such quaint notions in the face of true power. You don't seem to understand, Mr. Johnson. You don't have a choice in this matter. The only question is whether you'll cooperate and enjoy the fruits of our new world order, or resist and be crushed beneath its wheels." As he spoke, Emily saw her opening. With a swift motion, she pulled the device from her pocket and plugged it into the nearest terminal. Instantly, the screens around the room began to flicker and distort. "What's happening?" the man demanded, rising from his seat as alarms began to blare throughout the building. Michael's voice was filled with grim satisfaction as he replied, "That would be us choosing option 3, fighting back." Chaos erupted in the office as the failsafe program took effect. Security systems went haywire. Doors throughout the building began to lock and unlock at random, and the armed guards found their communications jammed. In the confusion, Michael and Emily sprang into action. They had rehearsed this moment in the bunker, each movement calculated for maximum effect. Michael tackled the nearest guard, wrestling for control of his weapon, while Emily rushed to free the hostages. "You'd run," she shouted to Sarah and Jack as she worked to undo their restraints. "Get to the safe rooms on the lower levels." As their captives made their escape, Emily turned to see her father locked in a fierce struggle with the syndicate leader. The two men grappled, each fighting for control, in a battle that seemed to embody the larger conflict between Tech Vision and the forces that sought to corrupt it. Emily's heart raced as she searched for a way to help. Her eyes fell on a heavy paperweight on the desk, a globe that Michael had often said represented Tech Vision's global aspirations. Without hesitation, she grabbed it and brought it down hard on the back of the syndicate leader's head. The man crumpled to the floor, momentarily stunned. Michael stumbled back, breathing heavily as he looked at his daughter with a mixture of gratitude and concern. "Emily," he gasped, "are you all right?" She nodded, her adrenaline still pumping. "I'm fine, Dad, but we need to get out of here. There's no telling how long our failsafe will keep them disorganized." As if to underscore her words, shouts and the sound of running feet echoed from the hallway outside. The syndicate's forces were regrouping, and they would soon be back in force. Michael nodded grimly. "You're right, but we can't just leave. We need to get to the server room. There's information there that could expose the entire syndicate operation." Emily's mind raced as she considered their options. The server room was 3 floors down, and the building was crawling with hostile forces. But if they could access that data, they might have a chance of bringing down not just the conspiracy against Tech Vision, but the entire shadowy organization behind it. "Okay," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Let's do it, together." As they made their way out of the office, carefully stepping over the unconscious form of the syndicate leader, Emily felt a surge of emotion. In the span of a few short weeks, her life had been turned upside down. She had discovered a father she never knew, uncovered a vast conspiracy, and now found herself in the middle of a battle with stakes higher than she could have ever imagined. But as she looked at Michael, her father, her partner in this fight, she knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers they might face, they would face them together. The sound of approaching footsteps spurred them into action. Michael and Emily shared one last determined look before setting off down the hallway, ready to make their stand against the syndicate and fight for the future of Tech Vision, and perhaps the world itself. As they raced towards the server room, alarms blaring and chaos reigning around them, Emily Johnson knew that the most crucial part of their journey was just beginning. The truth about the syndicate was within their grasp, and with it, the power to reshape the future. All they had to do was survive long enough to seize it. The fluorescent lights flickered ominously as Michael and Emily Johnson raced down the emergency stairwell of Tech Vision's headquarters. The wail of alarms and the distant sound of shouting created a chaotic backdrop to their desperate descent. Every few seconds, Michael would glance back, ensuring his daughter was keeping pace and that they weren't being pursued. At least not yet. 3 more floors, Michael gasped, his breath coming in short bursts. The adrenaline coursing through his veins helped him push through the fatigue, but he could feel the strain of the past few days catching up with him. Emily, her face a mask of determination, nodded wordlessly. Her mind was racing, replaying the events that had led them to this moment. The discovery of her true parentage, the uncovering of the corporate conspiracy, and now the revelation of the syndicate. a shadowy organization with tentacles reaching into the highest echelons of power. It all seemed like something out of a thriller novel, yet here she was, living it. As they reached the landing of the floor housing the server room, Michael held up a hand, signaling Emily to stop. He pressed his ear to the door, listening intently for any sign of movement on the other side. "I think it's clear," he whispered, slowly easing the door open. "But stay alert. We don't know how many of the syndicate's people are still in the building." They emerged into a dimly lit hallway, the emergency lighting casting eerie shadows along the walls. The server room was at the far end, its reinforced door a stark contrast to the standard office doors lining the rest of the corridor. As they moved cautiously forward, Emily's mind drifted to the neuro-linguistic programming techniques she had studied. She focused on her breathing, using it to center herself and sharpen her senses. In her mind's eye, she visualized success, seeing herself and her father accessing the servers, retrieving the crucial data that could bring down the syndicate. Halfway down the hall, a noise from behind made them freeze. The unmistakable sound of the stairwell door opening echoed through the corridor. "Quick!" Michael hissed, pulling Emily into a nearby office. They crouched behind a desk, hardly daring to breathe as footsteps approached. "And do they have to be here somewhere?" a gruff voice said. "The boss wants Johnson and his brat found now." Emily felt her father tense beside her. She placed a hand on his arm, a gesture of silent support and a reminder to stay calm. As the footsteps drew nearer, Emily closed her eyes, focusing all her energy on remaining still and quiet. The door to their hiding place creaked open. Emily's heart pounded so loudly she was sure it would give them away. A beam of light swept across the room as the intruder searched for any sign of them. After what felt like an eternity, the light withdrew and the door closed. The footsteps moved on, growing fainter as they continued down the hall. Michael let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "That was too close," he whispered. "We need to move, now." They emerged from their hiding spot, more cautious than ever as they approached the server room. The keypad lock on the door glowed softly in the dim light. "Let me," Emily said, gently nudging her father aside. Her fingers flew over the keypad, inputting the code she had memorized during their planning session in the bunker. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft beep, the lock disengaged and the door swung open. Inside, rows of servers hummed softly, their blinking lights creating a surreal atmosphere. Michael moved quickly to a central terminal, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he began the process of accessing the hidden files that could expose the syndicate's operations. "Keep watch," he instructed Emily. "This will take a few minutes." Emily positioned herself near the door, her senses on high alert. As she stood guard, her mind wandered to the journey that had brought her to this point. She thought of her mother, Samantha, and the secrets she had kept. She thought of her grandmother, Elena, whose actions had set this whole chain of events in motion. And she thought of the future, uncertain and fraught with danger, but also filled with the possibility of a relationship with the father she had only just discovered. "I'm in," Michael's voice broke through her reverie. "Emily, come look at this." She moved to join her father at the terminal, her eyes widening as she took in the information scrolling across the screen. Files detailing the syndicate's operations, lists of compromised officials, plans for global manipulation of markets and governments. It was all there, laid bare in cold, digital clarity. "This is incredible," Emily breathed. "With this information, we could bring down the entire organization." Michael nodded grimly. "And that's exactly what we're going to do. But first, we need to get this data out of here." He pulled a small device from his pocket, a high-capacity drive specially designed for rapid data transfer. As he plugged it in and began the download process, a commotion from outside caught their attention. "They're coming," Emily said, her voice tight with tension. "We need to hurry." The download bar on the screen seemed to move agonizingly slowly. 25%, 40%, 60%. The sound of footsteps and angry voices grew louder. Emily's mind raced, searching for a way to buy them more time. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "Dad, the fire suppression system. Can we trigger it remotely?" Michael's eyes lit up with understanding. "Brilliant," he said, his fingers already flying over the keyboard. It won't stop them for long, but it might give us the time we need." Just as the download hit 85%, alarms blared throughout the building. The distinct hiss of the fire suppression system activating filled the air, followed by shouts of confusion and anger from the hallway. "It's working," Emily said, a glimmer of hope in her voice. "They're falling back." The download bar inched forward. 90%, 95%, 98%. A loud bang on the server room door made them both jump. "Johnson!" a voice roared from the other side. "We know you're in there! Open up, or we'll blow the door!" Michael's jaw set in determination as he watched the final seconds of the download tick away. Come on," he muttered under his breath, just as the sound of something heavy being positioned against the door reached their ears. The download completed. Michael yanked the drive free, clutching it tightly. "We've got it," he said, a mix of triumph and fear in his voice. "Now we just need to get out of here alive." Emily's mind raced, assessing their options. The main door was no longer viable, but she remembered something from the building schematics they had studied. "The maintenance shaft," she said urgently. "There's an access panel in here somewhere. It leads down to the basement level." Michael nodded, already moving to search for the panel. "Good thinking. Help me find it." As they searched, the pounding on the door grew more insistent. The metal was beginning to buckle under the assault. "Here!" Emily called out, her fingers finding the edges of a concealed panel near the back of the room. Together, they pried it open, revealing a narrow shaft with a ladder leading down into darkness. "You first," Michael insisted, helping Emily into the opening. "I'll be right behind you." As Emily began her descent, she heard the server room door finally give way with a thunderous crash. Her father's feet appeared above her as he scrambled into the shaft, pulling the panel closed behind him. They climbed down as quickly as they dared, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter above them. The shaft was narrow and dark, lit only by the occasional emergency light. Emily's arms ached from the effort, but she pushed on, knowing that their lives and the future of Tech Vision depended on their escape. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the bottom of the shaft. A small access door led them into a dimly lit maintenance corridor in the basement level. "This way," Michael said, taking the lead. "There's an emergency exit that should take us out to the street." As they moved through the winding corridors, Emily's mind was already racing ahead to their next steps. They had the data, but what would they do with it? Who could they trust with information this explosive? They reached the emergency exit. The red glow of the exit sign, a beacon of hope in the dim basement. Michael pushed the door open, and a rush of cool night air hit them. As they emerged into a side alley, the sounds of sirens and shouting could be heard from the front of the building. The chaos they had unleashed was still unfolding, providing them with the cover they needed to slip away unnoticed. "We did it, Dad," Emily said, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration in her voice. "We actually did it." Michael pulled her into a tight embrace, his voice thick with emotion. "We did, sweetheart, but this is just the beginning. The real fight starts now." As they made their way down the alley, blending into the busy New York night, Emily felt a surge of determination. They had taken on a corporate giant and a shadowy global conspiracy, and they had won the first battle. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew they would face them together. The data they carried had the potential to reshape the world, to expose corruption at the highest levels and bring down an organization that had operated in the shadows for decades. But with that potential came great danger. The syndicate would not go down without a fight, and Michael and Emily Johnson had just painted targets on their backs. As they disappeared into the crowded streets of New York, father and daughter knew that their journey was far from over. The next phase of their fight was about to begin, a battle not just for Tech Vision, but for the very future of global power structures. Emily glanced at her father, seeing the mix of determination and concern on his face. She squeezed his hand reassuringly. "Whatever comes next," she said softly, "we're in this together." Michael nodded, a small smile breaking through his worried expression. "Together," he agreed. As they walked, plans already forming in their minds, the city pulsed around them, unaware that two unlikely heroes had just set in motion events that would change the course of history. The night was young, and the real adventure was just beginning. The pre-dawn light was just beginning to paint the New York City skyline in hues of pink and gold as Michael and Emily Johnson made their way through the quiet streets of Brooklyn. They had spent the night moving from one safe house to another, always staying one step ahead of the syndicate's reach. Now, exhausted but determined, they approached their final destination, a nondescript brownstone that housed one of the city's most respected investigative journalists. "Are you sure about this, Dad?" Emily asked, her voice low as they climbed the steps to the front door. "Once we hand over this information, there's no going back." Michael nodded, his jaw set with determination. "We're sure, sweetheart. Jessica Reeves is the best in the business. If anyone can get this story out to the world without being silenced, it's her." As Michael raised his hand to knock, the door swung open, revealing a woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Jessica Reeves looked from Michael to Emily, her expression a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Mr. Johnson," she said, her voice clipped, "I got your message. Come in, quickly." As they stepped inside, Emily couldn't help but marvel at the organized chaos of Jessica's home office. Every surface was covered with papers, files, and sticky notes. Multiple computer screens displayed news feeds and data streams, creating a constant low hum of information. "So," Jessica said as she closed and locked the door behind them, "you said you had information that could change the world. That's quite a claim, Mr. Johnson. I hope you can back it up." Michael reached into his jacket, pulling out the small drive that contained the stolen syndicate data. "Everything you need is on here, Ms. Reeves. Files detailing a global conspiracy that reaches into the highest levels of government and business. The organization behind it calls itself the Syndicate." Jessica's eyebrows shot up at the mention of the Syndicate. "I've heard whispers about them for years, but never anything concrete. You're telling me you have proof of their existence?" Emily stepped forward, her voice steady as she replied, "Not just proof of their existence, Mrs. Reeves. We have detailed records of their operations, lists of compromised officials, plans for market manipulation on a global scale. It's all there." Jessica's eyes narrowed as she studied the young woman before her. "And who might you be?" "This is my daughter, Emily," Michael said, a note of pride in his voice. "She's been instrumental in uncovering this conspiracy." As Jessica inserted the drive into her computer, Michael and Emily recounted the events of the past few weeks, from Emily's initial warning about the board meeting to their daring escape from Tech Vision headquarters. Jessica listened intently, her fingers flying over her keyboard as she began to sift through the mountain of data before her. Hours passed as they worked together to piece together the full scope of the syndicate's operations. The more they uncovered, the more staggering the implications became. The organization's reach extended into every corner of global power structures, from Wall Street to Washington, from Silicon Valley to the halls of European parliaments. "This is incredible," Jessica breathed, her eyes wide as she stared at her screens. "If even half of this is true, it will shake the foundations of the world as we know it." Michael nodded grimly. "That's why we came to you, Ms. Reeves. This story needs to be told, and it needs to be told right. The syndicate has to be exposed." As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across Jessica's cluttered office, they began to formulate a plan. The story would be released in stages, carefully timed to maximize impact and minimize the chance of it being suppressed. "We'll need to be careful," Jessica warned, her expression serious. "The syndicate isn't going to take this lying down. They'll come at us with everything they've got. Emily felt a chill run down her spine at Jessica's words. The gravity of what they were about to do settled over her like a heavy cloak. They weren't just exposing a corporate scandal anymore. They were taking on a shadowy organization that had shaped world events for decades. As if sensing her daughter's unease, Michael placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. "We knew the risks when we decided to do this, sweetheart, but it's the right thing to do. The world deserves to know the truth." Emily nodded, drawing strength from her father's words and the unwavering determination in his eyes. She thought back to the moment in the hospital when she had first decided to warn him about the danger he was facing. That one decision had set in motion a chain of events that had led them here, to this moment, on the precipice of changing the world. As Jessica began to draft the first article in what would become a series of explosive exposés, Michael pulled Emily aside. "There's something else we need to discuss," he said, his voice low. "Something I've been thinking about since we escaped Tech Vision." Emily's brow furrowed in concern. "What is it, Dad?" Michael took a deep breath before continuing. "Tech Vision was more than just a company to me, Emily. It was my life's work, my vision for how technology could make the world a better place. But after everything that's happened, after seeing how our innovations could be twisted by organizations like the Syndicate, I'm not sure I can go back." Emily's eyes widened in surprise. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe it's time for a new chapter," Michael replied, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "A chance to start fresh, to build something new, something that can help protect the world from threats like the Syndicate." As Michael outlined his idea, a new company focused on developing technologies to safeguard privacy, expose corruption, and empower ordinary citizens. Emily felt a surge of excitement. This was more than just a business venture. It was a mission, a way to continue the fight they had started. "I want you to be a part of it, Emily," Michael said, his eyes shining with pride and hope. "Your insights, your determination, they've been invaluable in getting us this far. I can't imagine doing this without you by my side." Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes as the full impact of her father's words hit her. Just weeks ago, she had been a nursing student with no connection to the world of high-stakes business and global conspiracies. Now, she was being offered a chance to help shape the future, to work alongside the father she had only just discovered. I don't know what to say," Emily stammered, overwhelmed by emotion. Michael pulled her into a tight embrace. "You don't have to say anything, sweetheart. Just know that whatever you decide, I'm proud of you. We've been through hell together these past few weeks, but we've come out stronger for it." As father and daughter shared this moment of connection, Jessica's voice cut through their reverie. "You're going to want to see this," she called from her desk, her tone urgent. Michael and Emily hurried over, their eyes widening as they took in the breaking news displayed on Jessica's screens. The headline screamed in bold letters, "Global Communications CEO arrested in dawn raid." "It's starting," Jessica said, her voice a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "The first dominoes are falling. Once we release our story, it's going to be a firestorm." As they watched the news unfold, seeing the first tangible results of their efforts to expose the truth, Emily felt a profound sense of purpose wash over her. This was just the beginning. The road ahead would be fraught with danger and challenges, but they had taken the first crucial steps towards dismantling the Syndicate and reshaping the world for the better. Michael squeezed Emily's hand, a gesture of silent support and shared determination. Together, they had uncovered a conspiracy, exposed the truth, and set in motion events that would change the course of history. But more than that, they had forged a bond that went beyond mere biology, a partnership built on trust, courage, and a shared vision for a better future. As Jessica began to coordinate with her network of fellow journalists to prepare for the story's release, Michael and Emily found a quiet moment to reflect on their journey. "You know," Emily said softly, "when I first decided to warn you about the board meeting, I never imagined it would lead to all this. Finding you, uncovering the syndicate, changing the world. It's all so surreal. Michael nodded, a wistful smile on his face. Life has a way of taking us on unexpected journeys, sweetheart. I spent years building tech vision, thinking that was my purpose. But now I realize that my true legacy isn't a company or a product. It's you, the daughter I never knew I had, the partner I never expected to find. Emily felt her heart swell with emotion at her father's words. We make a pretty good team, don't we? She said, a hint of playfulness in her voice. The best, Michael agreed, pulling her into another hug. As they stood there, father and daughter, united against the forces that had sought to tear them apart, Emily knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The syndicate was far from defeated, and the battle to reshape the world had only just begun. But with the truth on their side and the strength of their newfound bond, Emily Johnson felt ready to take on anything. The sun had fully risen over New York City, casting its light on a world on the brink of monumental change. In Jessica Reeves' cluttered office, the first words of a story that would shake the foundations of global power were being written. And at the heart of it all stood Michael and Emily Johnson, two unlikely heroes thrust into extraordinary circumstances, ready to fight for a future they now shared. As Jessica called them over to review the first draft of the article, Emily took a deep breath, centering herself for the challenges ahead. The next chapter of their story was about to unfold, and she was determined to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the world was about to learn the truth about the syndicate. For Michael and Emily Johnson, the real adventure was just beginning. The weeks following the explosive revelations about the syndicate had been a whirlwind of activity for Michael and Emily Johnson. The world had been rocked by the exposé, with governments scrambling to respond, corporations facing intense scrutiny, and the public demanding answers. Through it all, father and daughter had stood strong, weathering the storm of media attention and legal battles that followed their decision to bring the truth to light. Now, as the dust began to settle, they found themselves in a quiet conference room overlooking Central Park, ready to take the next step in their journey. The soft morning light filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow over the assembled group of lawyers, advisors, and trusted friends who had gathered to help bring Michael's vision to life. "All right, everyone," Michael began, his voice steady and clear as he addressed the room. "Thank you all for being here. As you know, we've called this meeting to finalize the details of the Samantha Parker Foundation." Emily felt a surge of emotion at the mention of her mother's name. In the chaos of the past few months, she had found moments to share stories of Samantha with Michael, bridging the gap of years lost and helping her father understand the woman who had shaped Emily's life. "The Foundation's mission," Michael continued, "will be twofold. First, to develop and promote technologies that protect individual privacy and expose corruption. And second, to provide support and resources for whistleblowers and investigative journalists who are working to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As Michael outlined the details of the Foundation's structure and goals, Emily couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. From that first moment in the hospital, when she had decided to warn her father about the impending danger, to now, sitting in this room, ready to launch an organization that could change the world. "Emily," Michael said, breaking her from her reverie, "would you like to speak about the educational initiatives we discussed?" Emily nodded, standing to address the group. She had spent weeks working on this part of the Foundation's mission, drawing on her experiences as a nursing student and her newfound understanding of the corporate world. "One of our key focuses," she began, her voice growing stronger with each word, "will be on educating the next generation about the importance of ethical technology and corporate responsibility. We'll be developing programs for schools and universities, as well as offering scholarships for students who show promise in fields related to our mission." As Emily spoke, she could see the pride shining in her father's eyes. It was a look she was still getting used to, but one that filled her with warmth and determination. The meeting continued, with lawyers ironing out legal details and advisors offering suggestions on how to maximize the foundation's impact. Through it all, Michael and Emily worked in perfect sync, their shared vision and newfound bond evident to everyone in the room. As the meeting drew to a close, one of the advisors raised a concern that had been on everyone's mind. "Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson," he said, his tone serious, "I think we need to address the elephant in the room. The syndicate may have been exposed, but an organization that powerful doesn't just disappear overnight. Have you considered the potential risks of moving forward with such a high-profile initiative?" A hush fell over the room as all eyes turned to Michael and Emily. It was a question they had grappled with privately, weighing the dangers against their determination to make a difference. Michael stood, his expression resolute. "We've certainly considered the risks," he said, his voice steady. "But Emily and I have decided that we can't let fear dictate our actions." The syndicate thrived in the shadows, manipulating from the darkness. The best way to fight against that kind of corruption is to shine a light on it, to be bold, transparent, and unwavering in our commitment to the truth. Emily nodded in agreement, standing beside her father. "We know there may be challenges ahead," she added, "but we've faced danger before and come out stronger for it. The foundation isn't just about us. It's about creating a legacy of truth and empowerment that can outlast any threat." As the meeting adjourned and the room began to clear, Emily found herself standing by the window, looking out over the sprawling green expanse of Central Park. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see her father, his expression thoughtful. "Penny for your thoughts?" Michael asked softly. Emily smiled, a mix of emotions playing across her face. I was just thinking about Mom," she said, "about how proud she would be of all this, and I was thinking about Grandma Elena." Michael's brow furrowed slightly at the mention of Elena Parker, the woman whose actions had kept him from knowing his daughter for so many years. "What about her?" he asked, his tone careful. Emily took a deep breath before continuing. I think I want to reach out to her. To tell her about the foundation, about everything that's happened. I know what she did was wrong, but she's still family. And maybe, just maybe, seeing all the good that's come from us finding each other, maybe it could help heal some old wounds." Michael was quiet for a moment, processing Emily's words. Finally, he nodded slowly. "If that's what you want, sweetheart, I'll support you. It won't be easy, but then again, nothing worth doing ever is." As father and daughter stood there, looking out over the city they had helped to change, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her. The road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges. The specter of the syndicate still loomed, and there were countless battles yet to be fought in their quest for transparency and justice. But in that moment, with her father by her side and the promise of the Samantha Parker Foundation before them, Emily Johnson knew that they were exactly where they were meant to be. They had faced corporate intrigue, global conspiracies, and personal revelations, emerging stronger and more united than ever. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm light over the city below. In offices and boardrooms across New York, the wheels of change were already in motion, inspired by the courage of a father and daughter who had dared to stand up against a seemingly insurmountable force. As they turned to leave the conference room, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, Emily caught her father's eye. No words were needed. The look they shared spoke volumes. They were in this together, bound by blood, united by purpose, and ready to change the world. The Samantha Parker Foundation was more than just a philanthropic endeavor. It was a testament to the power of truth, the strength of family, and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to stand up for what's right. And as Michael and Emily Johnson stepped out into the bustling streets of New York, they knew that their journey, their real journey, was only just beginning. The stage was set for the next chapter in their extraordinary story. The world was watching, waiting to see what this unlikely duo would do next, and Michael and Emily were ready to show them, one truth at a time. The warm Argentine sun cast long shadows across the lush garden of a sprawling estate on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. Michael Johnson stood at the wrought iron gate, his hand hovering over the intercom button. Beside him, Emily fidgeted nervously, her eyes darting between her father and the imposing mansion beyond. "And are you sure about this?" Michael asked, his voice soft with concern. "We can still turn back if you're not ready." Emily took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "I'm sure, Dad. We've come too far to turn back now." With a nod of understanding, Michael pressed the intercom button. A crackle of static was followed by a hesitant voice, speaking in Spanish-accented English. "Yes. Who is it?" Emily leaned in, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Grandma Elena, it's Emily, Emily Parker. We've come to see you." There was a long pause, filled only by the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze. Then, with a soft buzz, the gate began to swing open. As they made their way up the winding driveway, Michael couldn't help but marvel at the twists and turns that had led them to this moment. Just months ago, he had been a tech mogul focused solely on his company's success. Now, here he was, about to confront the woman who had kept him from his daughter for nearly 3 decades. The front door opened before they reached it, revealing Elena Parker. Time had etched deep lines into her face, and her once dark hair was now streaked with silver. But her eyes, the same warm brown as Emily's, were sharp and alert as they took in the sight of her granddaughter and the man she had once sought to exclude from their lives. "Emily," Elena breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "My dear girl. And, Michael, I never thought I'd see the day." For a moment, no one moved. The weight of years of secrets and missed opportunities hung heavy in the air between them. Then, with a small sob, Elena stepped forward and pulled Emily into a tight embrace. Over her grandmother's shoulder, Emily's eyes met her father's. Michael gave her an encouraging nod, silently conveying his support. As Elena ushered them inside, the opulence of the mansion's interior stood in stark contrast to the emotional tension that filled the air. They settled in a sun-drenched sitting room, the awkward silence broken only by the gentle ticking of an antique clock. "And I suppose," Elena finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, "that you have questions, and I owe you both answers." Emily leaned forward, her expression a mixture of determination and compassion. "We didn't come here for recriminations, Grandma. We came because it's time to heal old wounds, to try and build something new from the ashes of the past." Michael watched in awe as his daughter took the lead, her words measured and empathetic. He saw in her the best parts of himself and Samantha, combined with a wisdom beyond her years, a wisdom forged in the crucible of their recent trials. Over the next few hours, as the sun arced across the sky outside, truths long buried were finally brought to light. Elena spoke of her fears for her daughter's future, of the misguided belief that she was protecting Samantha and Emily from a life of struggle. Michael shared his own journey of loss and rediscovery, the pain of missed years, tempered by the joy of the bond he now shared with Emily. And Emily, bridging the gap between past and present, spoke of forgiveness and the power of second chances. She told Elena about the Samantha Parker Foundation, about their mission to create a more transparent and just world. As the shadows lengthened and day gave way to evening, a tentative peace settled over the room. It wasn't perfect. Years of hurt and mistrust couldn't be erased in a single afternoon, but it was a start. "I know I have no right to ask," Elena said softly as they prepared to leave. "But is there a place for me in this new world you're building?" Emily glanced at her father, seeking his approval. Michael nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "There's always room for family," Emily replied, reaching out to squeeze her grandmother's hand. "If you're willing to be a part of it, we'd love for you to join us in New York, to see firsthand the work we're doing, and maybe find a way to contribute." Tears glistened in Elena's eyes as she nodded. "I'd like that very much." As they made their way back down the winding driveway, the setting sun painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, Michael felt a sense of closure settling over him. They had come to Argentina seeking answers and reconciliation, but they were leaving with so much more, a renewed sense of purpose and the promise of a future where old wounds could finally begin to heal. "You were amazing in there," Michael said softly to Emily as they reached the car. "Your mother would be so proud of you." Emily smiled, a bittersweet expression crossing her face. "I wish she could be here to see all of this, to know that her sacrifice wasn't in vain." Michael pulled his daughter into a tight embrace. "She is here, sweetheart, in you, in the foundation that bears her name, in every life we touch through our work. Samantha's legacy lives on through us." As they drove away from the estate, leaving Elena to prepare for her journey to New York, Emily's mind raced with possibilities. The Samantha Parker Foundation was growing beyond their wildest expectations, its influence reaching into corners of the globe they had never anticipated. "You know," Emily mused, her voice thoughtful, "I've been thinking about expanding our educational initiatives, maybe partnering with universities here in Argentina and in other countries. The fight for transparency and justice, it's not limited by borders." Michael nodded, a surge of pride warming his chest. "And that's a brilliant idea. We could set up scholarship programs, exchange initiatives, really make this a global movement." As they continued to brainstorm, the miles falling away beneath them, Michael couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought them to this point. From that first warning in a hospital room to uncovering a global conspiracy, from rebuilding a shattered family to creating a foundation that could change the world, it had been a path filled with danger, heartache, and unexpected joy. The lights of Buenos Aires twinkled in the distance as they approached the city, a fitting metaphor for the bright future that lay ahead. There would be challenges, of course. The remnants of the syndicate still lurked in the shadows, and there would always be those who sought to exploit and corrupt for their own gain. But as Michael glanced at his daughter, her face animated as she outlined her vision for the Foundation's future, he knew that they were ready to face whatever came their way. Together, they had already overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. What was one more mountain to climb? As they pulled up to their hotel, Emily's phone buzzed with a news alert. Her eyes widened as she read the headline. "Dad," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation, "you need to see this." Michael leaned over, his breath catching as he saw the words splashed across the screen. Global Tech Summit announced, Johnson and daughter to keynote on ethical innovation. A slow smile spread across Michael's face. "Well," he said, a hint of his old competitive spirit shining through, "it looks like the world is finally ready to listen. What do you say we give them a message they'll never forget?" Emily's answering grin was all the response he needed. As they stepped out of the car and into the warm Argentine night, father and daughter stood tall, ready to take on their next great adventure. The story of Michael and Emily Johnson was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning, but as they made their way into the hotel, already discussing plans for their keynote address, one thing was certain. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, bound by blood, united by purpose, and driven by a shared vision of a better world. The Tech Summit loomed on the horizon, a platform from which they could share their message with the world. The Samantha Parker Foundation stood poised to expand its reach, touching lives across the globe, and somewhere out there, the remaining threads of the syndicate waited, a reminder that the fight for truth and justice was never truly over. But for now, in this moment, Michael and Emily Johnson were exactly where they were meant to be. They had weathered storms, uncovered truths, and forged a bond stronger than any force that had sought to keep them apart. And as they looked to the future, they did so not with fear, but with hope. Hope for a world where transparency triumphed over secrecy, where innovation served the greater good, and where the power of family could overcome any obstacle. The stage was set for the next chapter in their extraordinary journey. The world was watching, waiting to see what this unlikely duo would do next. And Michael and Emily Johnson were ready to show them one truth, one innovation, one life changed at a time. As the elevator doors closed behind them, carrying them up to their suite, Michael and Emily shared a look of understanding. The road ahead would be challenging, but they were ready. Together, they had already changed the world. Now, it was time to see just how far they could go. The future beckoned, bright with promise and possibility. And the Johnsons were ready to meet it head-on, armed with the truth, bound by love, and driven by an unwavering commitment to make the world a better place, not just for themselves, but for generations to come. As the elevator chimed, signaling their arrival at their floor, Emily squeezed her father's hand. "Be ready for our next adventure, Dad." Michael's answering smile was filled with pride, determination, and boundless love for the daughter he had only just discovered. "With you by my side, sweetheart, I'm ready for anything." The doors slid open, revealing the path ahead. And together, Michael and Emily Johnson stepped forward into their future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead and to seize every opportunity to make a difference in the world they had sworn to protect and improve. The end of one chapter, perhaps, but the beginning of so many more. For Michael and Emily Johnson, the greatest adventures and the most profound changes were yet to come. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below what you thought of the story. See you in the next video.